All right, so let's see here. Finally got some food in me. Feeling a little bit better. I was kind of tired and weak before. Let's see. I'm just kind of announcing right now on Twitter that the stream is back up and running. Then maybe we'll start to kind of scroll through some of the tweets that have come in earlier and start to look at some of the websites. Okay, so let's see. Back from lunch and streaming slow, broken sites. Let's examine them together. I'll go on questions asked. Okay, cool. I think we're back up and running. How's everybody doing out there? Hoping everyone's having a good Saturday. Someone asked me yesterday, they were like, oh my gosh, it must suck to really have to work Saturdays. And I decided like 2 years ago, a couple years ago, maybe a little bit more, actually 2.5 years ago possibly, that I was going to just start working Saturdays. Why not? Like, you know, for many of the jobs I've had over the years, you know, there was that hashtag first 7 jobs that went around not too long ago. Many of the jobs that I've had over the years, I've worked Saturdays. So I worked on farms, worked Saturdays. Cleaned a barbershop, worked Saturdays. Worked in the grocery store, worked Saturdays. Even, you know, later than that, some of my development jobs. I worked for a small nonprofit in Florida, worked Saturdays. I've just really always worked Saturdays. And while I have the liberty to not do that now, I don't know. It feels a little awkward. It's like, well, like it's Saturday. Let's go to work. And so I don't know. It's a fun time to get in, sit down, just focus on community stuff. You know, throughout the week you've got meetings all the time, and it can be difficult. But you know, here on a Saturday, it's just kind of like, you know, me and you hanging out and stuff. And so I do whatever the heck I want to do. It's I've got liberty on Saturday. Let's see. Someone would broadcast my tweet a little more broadly. There we go. Let's start looking at some of the websites. So again, if you are on YouTube right now and you're not watching this through some embedded thing someplace else, I don't know if TweetDeck embeds this, but if you come over to the YouTube site, then you can actually get into this chat window right here and post URLs and stuff like that. You'll have to break the URL. You won't be able to post it with like the .com or anything. But if you replace the dot with the word dot in parentheses or something, then you can share some slower broken sites, or just share with them, you know, share them with me over Twitter, and that'll work as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of scan through some of the tweets that I've received. Hey, Bighorn, how you doing? You should be like what, maybe a couple months into programming now, right? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you kind of decided to take up this mantle and become a software engineer. So curious how that's going for you. Let's see. I'm gonna go through some old tweets. Let's see. So we've got So Wesley, well, still a week and a half that's a long time. Like here I am, like thinking it's been a couple of months, but yeah, it's definitely. I'm trying to think. So you got excited by something that somebody said. I about that on Twitter, and they like convinced you that this is something you want to do. Like you really want to get in this. So, let's see here. It looks like the feed is hanging. There we go. Okay, now we're back. So it looks like the feed just hung there for a second. But I'm trying to think back. I remember first seeing the message on Twitter. I don't know if it was. I think it might have been who's the Whitaker fella here at Microsoft. He is a phenomenal speaker. I'm forgetting his first name though. But I think it might have been a response to him or something. Let's see. So James has a question. I already asked you on Twitter. Not sure if you've seen it, but are you guys aware of the issues with IP board forms not working 100% correctly in Edge? James, I'm not familiar with this description alone, with what the issue is. If you want to go ahead and James Whitaker. Okay. Phenomenal speaker. I mean, this guy is an expert storyteller. Brilliant guy. But James Mulhall, if you wouldn't mind providing just a little more information, I'd be happy to go and check this out. URLs, screenshots, a description of, typically the format is this. So you want to give a URL, a resource, that points us to the problem location, and then a description of what the expected behavior is and what the actual behavior observed was. And so expected could be able to scroll down the page. And then the actual would be, scrolling is broken. Like I scroll down and it sticks at the top or something. So something like that is super helpful. If you haven't already provided that, please do so. If you have, just bump that thread on Twitter and I should be able to pick it up fairly quickly. And by bump, I just mean, add another response to it. And that should work out for me. So I've had coworkers come back from James Whitaker's talks here on campus just completely mind blown. And I had one coworker, she came back and she was like, this is just phenomenal. It's like life changing. And I was like, my goodness, like by the description of what she had, conveyed to me regarding what he presented, I was like, I got to go follow this guy on Twitter. And so I started following him, and I don't think I don't really follow people all that easily, especially for my personal account. But I was like, my goodness, like this is, I got to follow this dude because this is pretty wild. Like he sounds like he is a saint. I mean, he's bringing such insight and wisdom into storytelling and communicating and speaking with customers and learning how that mind and that relationship works and is maintained and fostered. And pretty phenomenal dude. So James Whitaker, look him up. His name is right here in the chat window right there. I got to figure out this windowing thing. So yeah, the mirror effect over there. James Whitaker, look him up. Brilliant guy. Very, very cool dude. So let's see. I'm going to look at Wesley's. I'm actually going to go down a little bit further than that, just make sure we don't miss anything. So we have Jonathan Ainsworth that was reporting Battlefield.com. I'm surprised. There's a lot of people reporting Battlefield.com is broken. And just kind of going back to what we looked at a couple weeks ago, Battlefield.com uses web components. It also uses older version jQuery, as I believe it was Ryan earlier was pointing out. If there is a difference in how import node works between Edge and Chrome, and whether or not you're doing a deep import, meaning you want to import not only the element but all the elements inside of it, not only the node but all the nodes inside of it. And there is a distinction between how Chrome and Edge handle that scenario. And I think Ryan, I don't know if he's in here right now, but if you go to bugs.google or bugs.google, bugs.microsoftedge.com, I have to edit that in post-production, I think. Let's see here. And I'm going to sign in and see if maybe I can find whether or not Ryan posted that particular reduction, because that reduction may in fact be very key to the issues that we're seeing on battlefield.com, where if you're not familiar with it, what happens is with custom elements, this web components library and Polymer, what they're doing is they're adding a bit of CSS at the very beginning of the page load that defines some styles for an unresolved attribute. So they create this new CSS rule set, and it is the selector is based on the unresolved attribute. And what it does is it sets the opacity to 0 and hides the page effectively. So whenever the body element has that unresolved attribute, it just hides the whole body element, which is basically everything that is visible on a web page. And then what happens is they go through, and then whenever a web components ready event is fired, I believe, the unresolved attribute is pulled off of the body element. But between time 0 and time 1, time 0 being where the page is stood up and time 1 being where that event fires, web components ready, between there somewhere is an error or multiple errors, we're not really quite sure, that stops the whole communication going across there. I think Ryan had identified earlier that if you do not do a deep import whenever you're doing this import node operation, then the page starts, goes through, and loads just fine. And so there is a functional difference between doing a shallow import and doing a deep import. And so you could be dropping elements off of the page or off, whenever you're transferring them from one document to another. And so that's what we want to look into, is make sure that yes, it does show the page, but at what cost? Are we losing elements? Are we losing portions of the document? And this is a really great thing that Ryan had worked up in his fiddle earlier, was if you have very minimal repro side by side, you'll see that there's actually this the test fails in Edge, but it passes in Chrome. Now failure and passing and stuff, that doesn't necessarily say which one is right and which one is wrong. But the key thing that it does for us, that is most relevant to us until we do further analysis on it, is that it tells us that there is an interop issue between those two experiences. And if Chrome and Firefox, for instance, two different implementations yield the same result and Edge is the odd man out, then obviously we need to consider probably aligning ourselves with Chrome and Firefox. There are many cases, however, where Edge and Firefox may be together and Chrome may be the odd man out. And they have in the past aligned themselves with Edge and Firefox. And so there is this tango a bit, but there's like three browsers, three engines tangoing. You've got the Blink WebKit crowd, you've got the Gecko crowd, and you've got the Edge HTML crowd. And these are the core engines that run these browsers. But whenever we're talking about import node, then we're talking about V8, we're talking about Chakra, and we're talking about, I think it's called SpiderMonkey and Firefox. I have to go check. But basically the three JavaScript engines that are running those code samples. So Battlefield.com, yeah, let's see here. Going down to a little bit earlier. So Chris, who is at evil_pro_ on Twitter, had reported an issue with Twitter whenever you go to people's media pages. And so I'd actually really love it if everybody else who's watching this right now, if you could try one small experiment for me. If you could go to, I'll share my screen when I do this, just so you can see what the experience looks like for me. I'm not able to repro this, but let's see if it works for others. Okay, so, Tennessee Bighorn. All right, we'll see in just a bit. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to twitter.com. I'll share my screen actually as well. So we'll go to Twitter.com/, I don't know, Microsoft/media. Now, when you go to this is going to show me all of the media tweets for the Microsoft account. You'll notice the page loads, content loads, there's stuff on the sidebar. I have not yet moved my mouse. I am holding off on that because that is part of the repro. But now if I move my mouse, I'm going to move it from the top middle where it is down here to the bottom right in this kind of empty area down here. You can see it just above my video, I believe. Yeah, right. I moved it down behind the video, but there we go. So just above the video. And I'm going to click here. And notice I clicked, but nothing happened. That is not the experience that Chris was seeing. Chris was seeing the experience where you click and it actually moves the page down to about here or something. It actually moves you down just a bit. And so, you know, this is what we really want to see. I want to know how prevalent this is. So if you also see that issue, I would love it if you would kind of chime into the chat, or go to twitter.com. Let's see if we can just find it real quick. We'll go to from @evil_pro_ to Sampson MSFT. And I believe we can find it inside here because this will, yep, okay. So here's a, if you do that search from @evil_pro_ to @Sampson MSFT, this will be all the tweets that come from Chris to me. And Chris has a video here and a couple different images actually showing the issue. So if I were to expand this, let me see if I can pop this open into a larger window. And I'm hoping the frame rate will be good for this. But you'll notice like, okay, so there's Chris's mouse down here in the corner. And when Chris clicks, things slide up, but not everything. Kind of an odd, you know, issue. So this actually, I noticed as well for such a short video, like 3 seconds, it really doesn't go all the way back to the very beginning. So it's hard to replay that one over and over. But yeah, if you repro that issue, okay, showing butts from YouTube. Thanks a lot, YouTube. If you repro that issue, please do post a comment. You know what? If it scrolls down with Caret Browsing, that might have been the issue, because that was the second issue that Chris had earlier, was anywhere he clicked on a page, there was a caret placed there, or a cursor. And so if you press F7 inside Edge, that might be it. So let me see here. I'm going to try that on my desktop. If you press F7, that'll turn on Caret Browsing. Caret Browsing was the other issue. He actually had Caret Browsing turned on. So that would be the explanation for that issue if that's the case. Let me go ahead and hit F7 real quick. Turn on Caret Browsing. Yes, please. And then we'll go to twitter.com/ Jonathan Sampson /media. And okay, so I have Caret Browsing on. My page is loaded. I'm going to go ahead and click. Yes, okay, that is the issue. So thanks, Ryan, for kind of remembering that. Yeah, that's 2 for F7 today. So this is we're doing quite well. Let's see here. So F7 is definitely causing some confusion for people. So I'm going to turn off Caret Browsing. Let me jump over to bugs.microsoftedge.com real quick. I want to see if Chris had posted that, because if he did, this is something that we can go ahead and close out as well understood. So we'll do Twitter and see what we have here. So Twitter head style recalc root cause. Okay, I think this is okay, so Greg Whitworth actually has this assigned to himself. This is bug number 8482694. So if you go to this URL right here, bugs.microsoftedge.com, and you do a search for 8482694, or you search for Twitter head style recalc, RECALC, you'll find this issue here. And I think there was actually some confusion, maybe in communication over Twitter, where Greg and Chris weren't quite being well understood by one another. Let's see. So I want to make sure that before I state what the answer is here, that I'm actually addressing what Greg recognized to be an issue on Twitter, because I think Greg might have found a second issue. So Greg says, go to a Twitter profile, wait a second, expect the banner image stays the correct height. The height adjusts a few hundred milliseconds in. So let's try that. I'll go to twitter.com/Greg Whitworth, and I see no adjustment. But I do want to go ahead and add the comment anyway to this bug, because Greg still does reference Chris's video, which shows the caret mode. So let's see. The issue seen in the YouTube video is caused by Caret Browsing. When Caret Browsing is enabled, clicking will cause the, clicking in the right side of the page will cause a caret to be placed, or a cursor rather, and the viewport to be scrolled. Disabling Caret Browsing resolves this behavior. All right, and I'm going to say this comment includes a suggested root cause as well. So my comment is added. You can now go and see that if you need to. If you repro the same issue, please go to that bug, sign in, and actually click Me Too. So let me see if I can pull that up just real quick here. I'm going to switch my screen back over to desktop mode. We'll jump over here, and we're going to go to bugs.microsoftedge.com. And once we get over here, let's see, we're going to go, it's actually the very top one. So you notice I just updated this. It has the need root cause tag on there. And if you are able to repro this as well, please sign in. And once you do, you'll notice over here on the side where it says sign in to watch or report this issue. Please sign in and click Me Too if you're able to go into caret mode, repro the issue, come out of caret mode, and see that the issue no longer repros. And so I didn't sign this. I didn't comment from the internal system, so I don't have Microsoft Edge team next to my name. But Jonathan S is me. You can rest assured, it's okay. So yeah, I would definitely love it if you've seen this issue. If you turn on caret mode, repros it, please come over here, share with everybody else that you're able to repro it. And if you feel there are any details lacking, please go ahead and share those as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. Very, very helpful. Let's see, so I'm going to jump back into top center here. This is my desktop, or my camera view. Let's see, let me start to scroll up here. So we have Chris's issue taken care of. I'm just going to update that thread as well. So say this issue is caused by Caret Browsing. So if you're looking at the tweets between myself and Chris, who is at evil_pro_evil on Twitter, then you should see I'm kind of responding to him now. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump up to some new tweets. So next up, this is Tony says neowin.net. Go to this site and immediately right-click on it. It freezes the browser. That sounds horrifying. So let me try this. Neowin.net. Yes, so neowin.net, and then immediately right-click. I have right-clicked. There's a lot still loading. Let's see that my context menu just popped up. I'm right-clicking a few more times as more and more pictures kind of load in here. My context menu pops up. It's a little sluggish, so I suspect there's some scripts running. but it's still, it's not freezing for me. It's actually not sluggish anymore now. It's I don't think it was sluggish before. It's just every other right click is showing it. So I'll right click, it's revealed. If I right click, it hides. If I right click, it shows. If I right click, it hides. Not able to repro, Tony. So if you're in chat, let me know if I need to do something more specific. Yeah, so the janky image size adjustment, I think what you're talking about is whenever you, so right now you can see Ryan's comments over here. Whenever you start to scroll down Twitter, they have some responsive stuff in there that adjusts classes and probably has a transition where it moves your avatar all the way up and then like shows a small one or something like that. I have seen that get stuck in a transitionary state before, but I don't have, this is something I was talking about on Twitter earlier, is I've seen this, I've witnessed it happen before, but there's no solid repro for it. And it's, I suspect, one of those timing related things where you get into this race condition where, are you going to click further down the page? Is the transition going to get halted halfway through when a class is pulled off? I'm not really quite sure. It's tough to say. So if you identify a consistent repro for that issue, please do pass along, and I would totally love to see that bug just disappear. As for NeoWin, I'm not seeing any hanging or anything like that right now in Edge. And I am, let's see, I am in a build of Edge 39 right now. So I don't see any hanging there. Let me just refresh real quick. Immediately right click on it, it freezes the browser. Oh wait, I might have got this. Let's see. So NeoWin is not responding, but I had to hit refresh for this. So this is cool. This may be something worth looking into, and then we can actually okay, it actually refreshed for me. Yep, okay, so stopped responding for just a second, but it came back and started working. Let me show you. So this is actually a good example of a perf-related issue that we would love to have traces for. Because when the browser, you'll notice sometimes the tab, it turns like a dark gray, and it gets the text next to it that says not responding. So if your tab is wide enough, then you'll see not responding. Otherwise, you'll notice the white text just kind of goes dark or goes dim. I'm in dark theme right now, and so that's the way it looks whenever it kind of becomes non-responsive. What we want to know is when the browser tab becomes unresponsive like that. We want to know which methods, which APIs are being called into. And so there's some type of script that is running on the UI thread. So on the same thread that updates the UI and updates the images on the screen, there's a script that is running on that thread that has taken a long time to run, and it's not allowing us to update the screen and stuff like that. It's blocking the UI thread. And so what we want to know in that case is, what is it doing? What is it doing that it can't do quicker? Because we're okay with something happening that takes a long time. We want to ideally minimize the amount of time that is spent churning on the UI thread like that. Is there something that maybe we are doing far too frequently that we shouldn't be? Can we optimize something? And so performance traces are super, super helpful in this case. And so right now, if you are on Windows 10, if you're watching this from a Windows machine, and you have the anniversary update or something newer, for instance, if you're on the Insider program and you just got a flight like 2 days ago or something, that's awesome. Go ahead and push your Windows key and just type in feedback. And I think if I do this here, I should be able to find the feedback hub. Yep, so this comes up for me as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you can kind of see what it is I'm looking at here. So here's the feedback hub. There's yours truly, so handsome and beautiful. So humble, incredibly humble. I'm the most humble ever. That's what the people say. Let's see here. So I'm gonna type in like one that I know exists, NewYorkTimes.com. This is a site that presently has some performance issues with it that we've had reported to us. And so you notice there's a couple of things down here. New York Times is very slow and latest Edge build. I was just looking at this a couple days ago. Inside here is this add feedback details. And so let me increase the size of this just a bit. Now, if I click on this, this is actually an expandable and collapsible region right here. So add feedback details, I can click and expand that, click and collapse it. Whenever I expand it though, inside here, you'll notice there's this option of begin monitoring. And so, what this is used for is to actually start to record all of the API calls in the browser. And so this is where we actually want to identify what is causing the browser to be so slow, what's causing the page to hang. And so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up a browser real quick. I'll open up a brand new tab. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and type in, I'm just going to start recording. So begin monitoring. Now right now you'll notice there's the little icon up here says monitoring. So it's now taking a sample from my machine of which APIs in the browser are being called. I'm going to go to newyorktimes.com and we'll just see how long it takes for this to load. There's still some things loading in here. I'll increase the size. You can see it, you saw that blue region on the right side of the browser, so that means there's some type of script that's long running. My cursor is changed to a scrolling or resizing cursor. I'll start to scroll down. Kind of is a little jerky. It's not super smooth. Here's a bunch of empty space. And we get to the bottom of the page. So I'll scroll back up to the very top. And again, this is you can tell there's something running on here that is pretty heavy. And then I'll go ahead and I'll click on one of these articles just to see, what that experience is like as well. So we're jumping into an article now, and it's still, it's kind of taking a long time to get through. I can't scroll right now, not with my mouse wheel. I can scroll with touch, and so you notice that is one of the improvements in recent versions of Edge is, scrolling is going to get stuck, but even whenever it's frozen, like right now, you can see the page is unresponsive by the title up there. I can still scroll with my finger if I need to. So I believe we should expect to see some updates in the future where you can continue to have that same liberty with your mouse pad. Your trackpad, you can do it, and by touching, you can do it as well. So this is quite a bit of content recorded here. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, and I'm going to stop monitoring. And what that does now, there is this system monitoring file that is attached. And so at this point, I can just submit. Thank you. We've got the blah, 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 all this information. We'll use it to improve your experience. Now, whenever one of our team members comes across this particular item, they have real data. They have actual data that they can then look at and see which APIs were being called in the browser. I don't think there's any, there's nothing about the content of the page or anything like that. All this is doing, to my knowledge, is recording the individual API calls. So if, for instance, the web page creates a text node, then we have a record saying text node created. If it creates an image element, then we have a record saying image element created. We don't know what the image was or what its source was, but we know that an image was created. So if we see inside there, for instance, that 80% of the time was spent on for each method, then, that's usually whenever you're iterating over some type of collection, then we can start to say, okay, we need to actually go in and possibly optimize our for each implementation or something like that. So, this is super, super helpful. If you come across really poor performing websites, please consider, using this. Let's see, we were just talking about neowin.net, I believe. So if I do a quick search, you notice there are a few different responses or posts here about Neowin. Links with an apostrophe break on this site. I'm sure it happens on others. That's actually pretty interesting. I wonder if there's no details. So this would be a good example of like, can you point us to a link with an apostrophe in it? So site ramps up on CPU usage and PC. I can't click buttons. So this would be a good example of actually adding one of these, system monitor files. So if this is something that you would love to help us with, if you come across sites that perform very slowly on your machine, you'll notice there's build information up here. I wonder if I can, nope, I can't zoom in on that. But there's build information up here, like this is build 14.361 through build 14.385 that this was tested on about 2 months ago. Please go ahead and contribute your monitor file as well. And so if you can actually sit down and record something, that would be fantastic, especially if it's short, but it captures the key point in time that the issue kind of manifested itself. That's very, very helpful. Yeah, so this is definitely something I would encourage people to do if they can, if they run across sites that perform very poorly. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and jump back over to Twitter. I'm going to respond to Tony. So I'm just encouraging Tony to use the feedback monitoring utility inside the feedback hub. And I guess I can always follow up with Tony afterwards if there's any confusion there. So Jonathan Ainsworth, we talked about Battlefield. I'm going to revisit Battlefield here shortly, just to spend some more time on it, but probably not on the stream. Let's see. Kumar says, Kumar_S_S says, how to enable pop-up in Windows Mobile 10. My university internet authentication requires it to be enabled. I'm not actually quite sure what Kumar is referring to with regards to pop-up. It's kind of an overloaded term. Pop-ups could be prompts. They could be elements that are popping up over the page with CSS styling being positioned that way. Let's see. We're going to go to Jack W, who is at TEH Jack UH, so Ted Jack. Jack says, do you think we'll ever see an ad blocker on mobile? Is it on the roadmap? Jack, this is a popular question, and honestly, I can't say yes or no. I can't confirm nor deny. I work on the web platform, so my focus is predominantly on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and our implementation and support for standards. When it comes to the actual application itself, or the extensions, for instance, and how we make decisions in those areas, that's actually beyond my scope. And so, is there a pop-up blocker in the future for mobile? I have no idea. I honestly couldn't answer that question. Who knows? You could always proxy your mobile through your computer and actually use something like Fiddler or something like that to just kill the pop-ups from the URL. So it'd be a temporary localized solution. You wouldn't be able to leave your house or anything, but as long as you're on your home network, that would probably work. Let's see. There's some discussion between Chris and Greg about the actual issue that we just responded to on Twitter, which was the Caret Browsing. Thank you again to Ryan for remembering the Caret Browsing from earlier. So Ben Adams, this is Ben_A_Adams of Iliad Games, or I know he's building this amazingly complicated, massive multiplayer online game. I think it's Age of Ascent or something. Let's see, Age of Ascent. Yeah, you have got to look at this game. This is amazing. Ageofascent.com. This is pretty incredible. Public alpha, player versus player playtest. So yeah, I'm gonna drop this link inside here. Because it's just super phenomenal. Ageofascent.com. And I believe that should work. Let's see. Yes. So make sure you go to this guy's website. Ben Adams' website. It's just like unbelievable the thing they're building, and it works in Edge, works cross-browser. Phenomenal work. Let's see, Ben actually, and if you listen to Scott Hanselman, his Hansel Minutes podcast, he actually interviewed Ben Adams not too long ago. Really great interview. So Ben actually says that matches doesn't exist, needs a name change. Element.matches selector should point to element.matches. So this is, if you're not familiar with this, basically what Ben is referring to is the ability to test whether or not an element would have been selected by a particular CSS selector. So let me jump into my desktop again. We'll actually look at a couple examples of this. So I'm going to pull up this page, and we'll go to, let's go to dev.microsoftedge.com. Actually, you know what? We have a shorter URL for this. It's actually edge.ms. So edge.ms, just hit that, and it'll forward us over to the Dev Microsoft Edge site. And so in this case, what I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to open up, let me just make this a little bit bigger here. All right, and I'm going to open up my DevTools. And I'll go ahead and grab an element. So I'm going to jump into my console. And I'm assuming everyone can see this. Let me just jump over real quick so I can see myself in the tab. Yep, okay, so this is big enough. So let's see. If I were to increase the size of this, I grab, for instance, the document.body element. So this is going to be the document.body element. I could go ahead and grab the outer HTML and get a substring of that from characters 0 through 100. And that would give me the first 100 characters of the body's outer HTML. So I can see that the body doesn't have any attributes on it. It doesn't have a class. It doesn't have anything like that. There's no data attributes. So doing a matches against that would be kind of lame, but we can still do it. So if I do document.body.matches, MS matches selector, I think is the example that we're used here. And then we pass in a CSS selector, that's going to be true. But if I were to do a search for like form, where form is not going to return the body. And so document.body.ms matches selector. Matches selector, I think, is the selector that, or the property function rather, that Ben was referring to. If I do a quick search, I mean, what we can go ahead and do is jump over here, MDN matches selector. I think it might be just matches, but we'll see. Yeah, it matches. So there, it does look like there was an experimental implementation with Moz matches, or WebKit matches selector, Moz matches selector, implemented with a non-standard name, MS matches selector, and also implemented with O matches selector. So, you know, oftentimes whenever you have these non-standard implementations, what you wind up doing is you would grab, you do something, you said like, you know, O or var matches would be equal to document.body.matches or document.body.matches selector or document.body.matches or MS matches selector. You put in all the different options up there so that finally whenever you have matches, it's going to be a reference to whichever one worked. And so in this case, we gave it a bunch of options. We're looking for just matches. We're looking for matches selector. We're also looking for MS matches selector. And we can see whenever we actually call matches, the one that it found was MS matches selector. So I think Ben is saying here that we need to probably go ahead and implement matches. I don't know if that's on our roadmap right now. Let me, if we just go to status.microsoftedge.com, this will pull up our status site. And from status, we can actually do a quick search for matches. So we actually don't have this one even mentioned here. Let me just confirm real quick that we don't have it even supported in, actually let's go back to the standard here. So this is inside DOM prototype matches in the specification. That's in the what working group living standard. So there is a polyfill here. So, we're talking about earlier where you could actually go and start to check for matches, Moz matches, MS matches, matches selector, all that type of stuff. That's precisely what they're doing in this polyfill right here. So you notice they start out by saying, if the element prototype, which defines some core functionality for every HTML element, if the element prototype does not have a matches property. So that's what the not Element.prototype.matches is basically saying. Then they're going to head and they're going to create a matches property on the element prototype, and they're going to assign it to either matches selector, Moz matches selector, MS matches selector, O matches selector, WebKit matches selector, or they're going to define the basically the implementation for all of those in this function right here. So if one of these comes back as truthy, then the whole circuit is going to be, the whole operation is going to be short-circuited. It's going to take whatever truthy item that was there and it's going to put it into the matches property. So it might actually be taking an experimental implementation and putting it into the matches property. Otherwise, they're going to create this function here that actually has matches, and it's going to get either this document or this owner document and query selector all that takes the string that you're going to be using, and then it's basically going to go through and it's going to see if that string will actually select the item that you have selected. And so in this case, it's I equals matches length, while I, while I minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0, and matches.item I, so matches, so matches is a reference to this right here. Yeah, so they're trying to see if this method here has an item at index, what are they doing here? So query selector all, this is going to return a list, an HTML collection of elements. I is going to be equal to the number of elements that are matched by that. So if they look for a P tag and you find 15 different P tags, you're going to have 15 different P tags inside there. This would be 14 rather, no 15. And then I minus I is going to lower that value from 14 to 13 to 12 to 11 to 10. And they're going to basically check that collection at index I to see if the item is equal to this. Okay. And if that is the case, they're going to return I is, well, so what are we doing here? They're going to return I is greater than -1. Okay. Yeah, so I guess if you get all the way down to 0, then that means it wasn't found. If you return a positive number, then it was found. Or actually, if you get to 0, it could still be found. It would just be the first thing in the collection. So if you get down to -1, then it wasn't found. And so, yeah, you can actually use this whole polyfill right here if you need to implement matches. But I think what Ben is saying that we probably should consider doing that in the browser itself. And so we have to look at basically where our implementation of matches is. If it matches the spec behavior. I'm not actually quite certain right now if there are any known issues. I see if we go to can I use matches selector, let's see, we'll jump back over here, pull up the web page, and we'll go to caniuse.com, and we'll look up matches. Yeah, here's the matches method. And so you notice that right now Edge and IE are both marked as partial support with the prefix ms. So it's supported in even IE just under the name of matches selector as opposed to just matches. So that's worth noting. I think what we can go ahead and do is we'll do one more thing here. uservoice.microsoftedge.com. And from here, we'll do a quick search for matches to see if, yeah, so there actually is a request here to unprefix and improve Microsoft Edge Developer, unprefix and improve MS Matches Selector to matches, or unprefix and update, rather. So Chrome 34 and Firefox 34 both have their prefixes removed. IE should do the same. And this was from December or October of 2014, so this is quite a while back. I think what we should go ahead and do, I'm going to share this with Ben and make sure that Ben is aware of this user voice item, and then I'll just pass this on to our team and see if it's something that we can go ahead and expedite. Because I suspect after nearly 2 years, we're probably in a place where that might be an option for us. So let's go to uservoice.microsoftedge.com. And matches, and I'll just make sure that and there's also the looks like a CSS selector level 4 item that is getting a lot of attention too, 67 votes to implement the matches selector syntax. So that might be something to consider in the future as well. Let me take a copy of this URL. I'm going to send this over to Ben. To say, please upvote. We'll take a look and give this consideration. Okay, so let's move on from Ben now. Next up, PST. So this is at PST Contact on Twitter. Says, did you happen to try mint.com? It has similar problems with text scaling. More data points, the better. So I think what PST is referring to is, and I'll just kind of open up my phone here real quick. Yeah, so if you've used the Windows mobile, you've seen sites like this, where text is all jumbled up and it's really hard to read anything, and yeah, it's super painful. I have an example of this. This is a JSBin site. So you notice the text is actually fairly readable, and at the very top there is the font size and the line height. And actually, I'll connect this real quick to my computer so that you can see kind of what's going on here. Let's see. I'm going to take plug my phone into the cable. Plug the cable into the computer. Magic chimes of destiny beckon me. Okay. And then we're going to jump into real quick project my screen. So if you don't already have project my screen, you may not need this. There is actually the ability to use Connect on Windows 10, but I typically still use project my screen just because it's a force of habit. So let me jump in. I'm going to share my desktop. So here's my phone. You can actually see it right here. I'm scrolling up and down. This is the problem. So you notice here at the very top. Oh goodness, I shouldn't have swiped too much. Okay. So at the very top up here, you see the font size is 26 pixels. And the line height is 21 pixels. So keep that in mind, 26 and 21. If I jump out of here and I go to my settings, that is at about 150. I could drop this down to 100. And my font size, if I refresh this, the font size is now, what did I do? I want to see the output. Okay, so the font size is now 16 pixels, and the line height is 21. I don't actually want this edit stuff at the very end of here. Okay. All right, I guess it's the problem of timed stuff. So you notice at the very top, it's 16 pixels, line height 21 pixels. That's at 100% scale. If I start to increase this to 150, we would expect both of those to increase. But instead, the only one that increases is the font size, which is now 26 pixels, but the line height is still 21 pixels. So now the characters on the screen are larger than the vertical space between lines. And if we go even larger, from 26 pixels all the way up to, we'll say it's 200. Now I'm saying I'm an old guy, my eyes are a little weak, getting faint and stuff. I need my phone to have a big UI like this. So I go up to 200%. The problem is now websites start to look like this. Now I'm dealing with text that is 35.5 pixels in size, whereas the line height is 21 pixels inside. So you start to see the problem here. The line height does not increase whenever we're bumping up the size. I was speaking with some of our developers about this yesterday, and I was, I guess, very happy to learn. Well, I'm happy to understand the issue. I wasn't exactly happy to learn this. But this particular accessibility feature controls all text across the whole operating system. And that makes sense because you don't simply want to increase the size of some text in some parts of the operating system. You want any mechanism that exists to that renders text to actually be impacted by the increase of text scaling. Now that isn't just for the applications, that isn't just down here on the address bar, for instance, that isn't just inside my settings, it has to be everywhere. And you notice there is some kind of not nice ways that this impacts the UI a bit, but you want that to be on the pages as well. The problem is, whenever you're dealing with the operating system, there just isn't the same ubiquity or the same type of use of line height as there is inside web pages and web views and stuff like that. As a result, the functionality that increases the text scaling for devices like this that works really well, it doesn't increase the line height. That logic is simply not built into that functionality. And so at this point, we have an issue that manifests itself inside Edge, but it is not an issue with Edge. And so at this point, the team has to evaluate best path forward. Do we, let me fix the webcam there. Do we try to write some logic that undoes what the OS text scaling feature does? How do we handle this? And so we have got superbly brilliant people working on this. You remember I mentioned Greg Whitworth earlier. The team that he belongs to is currently looking into this issue. It is a known issue, and it sounds like PST saying that this impacts Mint.com as well. If I were just to pull up Mint.com, which is a personal finance management site, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so let me pull this up real quick and see if we jump over and we share the screen like this. You can kind of see that the lines are a bit uncomfortably close together on here. So if I were to go to learn more, maybe we can find a page with a little more text. Yeah, you start to see like the easy budgeting, all these labels start to look kind of messy because they're all vertically crushed together. And that's simply because I have my text scaling turned all the way up. If I turn it all the way back down to 100%, which could make the operating system hard for me to use, you notice now the web pages look really nice and everything works out really well. So, one approach to take to this is don't use text scaling on your site if this is an issue that is going to impact you. That's not the best and most ideal workaround. The best and ideal workaround is for the device itself to have consistent kind of functionality to, whenever it increases things to make them easier to read, that it doesn't in turn make things harder to read. And so that's definitely the better kind of long-term approach. And so we're going to be looking at that. So I do want to thank PST Contact on Twitter for reporting that. We'll go ahead and respond real quick and just confirm that that is the issue that we're running into. So we'll see. Yep, that's exactly what's happening here. Thanks for sharing another data point. So we'll scroll up to the next one. Let's see, next tweet coming in. Let's see. So we have at Steve Pel Steve, I believe. So STEVEPEL says, can you look at Logitech website support? Things using HTTPS give a blank page in Edge and IE11. Okay, so we should go check out the Logitech site. So I'm going to pull up that right now. Real quick, before I leave this MS Matches selector page, I'm going to go ahead and email someone on my team to see if that's something that we can go ahead and consider moving forward to the standard property name as opposed to the prefixed one. Let's see. Okay, so that email is sent. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump forward and check out Logitech. So Logitech, and we're going to jump there. That's logitech.com. Okay, so I landed on Logitech with special offers and everything. Let's see, I'm going to pull it up on my screen here. And we'll jump over to the bottom right preview window. So we'll do logitech.com/en-us. So we have some URLs or some fonts that load into place here. I'm not presently on HTTPS, so let's go to, I don't know, let's jump through real quick and we'll look at one of these devices. So be the master, I don't know what that means. Let's see. That's cool. Like, what is this? This is a camera, so we'll do that. We'll learn more about that, see if we can get ourselves into an HTTPS page. Speakers, gaming. Let's look at keyboards. This is pretty cool. Let's see. So if I were to try to purchase this, should try to get me into a buy now scenario. Okay, so now I'm on HTTPS. The page appears to be working just fine. Yeah, I can, let's see, menus here, shipping method. If I increase the quantity, because I need like 4 of these bad boys. Yeah, no, it seems to be working for me. I mean, if anybody else sees an issue there. So the report is that these just give blank pages in Edge and IE11. I'm going to go ahead and respond and ask for more details. So let's see. All right, so next tweet. Next tweet is from _KRT_. Can you check your DM, please? I've sent you an issue with one site. So let's jump over to the DMs and see what we have here. Here we go. So let's see, an issue with opening hyperlinks with non-ASCII characters in Edge. Okay, so let's look at this one real quick. Don't know what this site is, so I'm going to turn off my desktop real quick just just until I can confirm that it's not going to be butts again, because I wound up with butts on YouTube for whatever reason. Let's see. Okay, so this is okay. This does not look like it's going to be full of butts. So I'll switch back and this is what we're looking at here. So this is let's see. That's Cherkassky Forum. So yeah. I think this is groupie. Yeah, this is groups, forum groups. My Russian is a little bit rusty here. But I'm told here, so if we open this up, click on any link in the fourth column. Links in the fourth column, I'm assuming that's over here. Non-ASCII characters, URL encoded in address bar is wrong. So we actually have some Cyrillic, I see. Some Cyrillic characters up here. Actually, no, these are not in. Interesting. Okay, so if we click on anything with Russian in it, so this URL has letters from the Cyrillic alphabet or Cyrillic alphabet, and they are being just butchered up here. Horribly, horribly butchered. Okay, so this is easy repro. This is great. Thank you, Ivan. If you are still watching, just kind of sending a message there to let them know that I can actually repro. So I think the best way to stand up an example of this would be just to straight up copy the link, and we will go ahead and do like a jsbin.com or something like that. I'm trying to think actually, one way that I could test this, because what I really love to do is have a test where you just open it up and it either works or it fails. So let me see if let's try and do that real quick. Let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and minimize. We're looking at my desktop right now, so I'm going to jump over real quick and turn off the desktop view, and I'm going to go in and we'll just start to create a small project real quick that tries to reproduce the issue in an automated fashion. So you either get a pass or a fail message. Similar to what Ryan shared earlier, where you run the document fragment import node test, and it either tells you pass or fail, because those are the most easily understood tests ever. The ones where you have to click this link, check the address bar, and when you're asking people to compare Russian with crazy poorly encoded messages, depending on who that person is, they may not know the difference between the two. And yeah, so it's better if it just says pass or fail. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a folder on my desktop, and we'll start to work on a reduction in there. In fact, yeah, that'll be okay. We'll do that. We'll put it on this computer here. So we'll go to my desktop, and I'll create a new folder here called reductions. And this folder I will go ahead and open up inside Visual Studio Code. Once I have that, we'll go back to sharing the desktop and working on an automated test for this to see if it's something that we can actually, make super simple to understand. Okay, so here I am inside Visual Studio Code. We're going to create a new file. We'll call this index.html. And yeah, that's pretty good. So I'm going to put my doc type in here. That tells the browser to use standards mode. We'll do HTML. You know what? This might actually be a little bit slow. I may remote into another machine and do this, and that way I'm only transferring pixels across the band, across the wire. We'll see if this works out or not. Testing Russian encoding. Let's see. So we do a body here, and I'm going to do a script tag just inside the body. This should be fine. So I'm going to do a var URL equals, and we're going to put in this whole URL right here. So as a string, and that looks pretty decent. Let's jump back to home real quick, and looks like I have both of my opening strings. There we go. So we have the URL there. Excellent. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to make a second page here. This all doesn't matter, so I'm going to do popup.html string equals, and then this. We don't need a whole lot of this. We only need a little bit. So I'll grab that. That should be good. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to create that page. So I'll go back in my side column here. We'll create a new file called popup.html. And from over here, let's do some stuff. So we'll do I'll do a button that says test. And we'll do, let's see here, I'll give that an ID so it's auto promoted to a global variable. So now that word right there actually gets used as a variable, so I can just call button add event listener, click events. We'll get that event. We'll use our ES6 arrow functions, and we'll go ahead and call let when equals window.open, and I'll pass in my URL here. That's the title of the window, I believe. I'll just do null. We'll do a width of 340. Let's see, 340 by 480. I'm totally forgetting my old kind of legacy resolutions. 320 by 240. That's what we're doing. 320 and a height of 240. And let's see. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that for right now. And I'll do control tilde to open up my in situ terminal. And we'll run my node module, HTTP server. So that fires up a server on my machine. I can now type run. We'll go to Microsoft Edge : http:// localhost 8080. And here is my page with my button on it. Okay, so we'll click on that. Oh, now this is interesting. So it actually, if you look at it, it actually preserved the URL up in the top. That's not what we want. We actually want it to break. So let's try this another way. Let's try just a general anchor then with that same URL. We can just create an anchor from this URL here. So we'll do var link equals document.create element link.source or link.href actually equals URL, and we'll do link.text content equals Здравствуйте. Yeah, that's some really terrible kind of pronunciation right there. Здравствуйте. Okay, let's do that. We can close this. We don't need our DevTools open up. We don't, yeah, we'll use this. Okay. So, but we forgot to put the link into the body. So document.body.append child. And we'll put that link inside there. So there is our link. If we click on that, it actually still works here. So you notice the URL is still it's still showing up correctly. Let's take a look at this again a little more closely to figure out what is different between this situation and mine. So if I come in here inspect this element. I want to make sure that I'm not missing something obvious here. Let's try this link. Okay. So we have a link here. We'll just take this whole thing, edit as HTML. I have an idea of what the problem could be. We'll see here in just 1 second. I'm going to take out this whole dynamic link. We'll just put an actual link inside the document here. So we'll do a paragraph tag, and then inside there is where we'll drop our link. And let's jump back over to our small page real quick. Nope, that's not the one we want. Here we go, testing Russian encoding. Okay. So this is Raska's process-p. Let's see if that works. Okay, so that breaks. So where is that? What portion of the URL are we looking at here? We may need to... How much of that breaks? Let's look at this really closely. So immediately after forum is when it starts to fall apart. I'm going to copy this whole thing, and I'm going to paste it inside here, just so we can kind of compare it one on top of the other. So you can see page 15. Okay, we're actually looking at 2 different URLs here. Yeah, let me grab this URL from this, copy link, and we'll paste it into... Actually, no, we're not. What is going on here? There's the 8987. Page 1592. Post 707. Yeah, I don't know where that page 1592 is coming from. That's really interesting. Unless that's the, we're being forwarded there, which that might, in fact, be a possibility. So let's go ahead and see if we are, in fact, being forwarded. So we'll open up the developer tools here. And I'm going to go to my network tab. And I don't have clear entries on navigate selected, so that's good. I want to actually preserve what's happening. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this link. So, okay, yeah, there is a redirection that's happening. So you notice right here, a 301 is the very first thing that happens. Where we are going first is right here. So we'll copy that URL. And we'll replace this one because this is the eventual forwarded URL. That is not exactly representative of the one that we're going to initially. So this one does not have the page stuff inside there. You notice that's actually missing. So let's see. Now the other difference here. Alberto, hello. How are you? Trying to think, the other big difference here is UTF-8. So I want to see if what the content is of this. So if we look at this, let's see the request here. I don't see in the okay, so there's UTF-8 is inside the content type. This would be the URL encoded version, I believe. So C3 is going to be the ASCII form of, what is that first value? So if we were to jump back over here to the form, the DOM Explorer rather, and let's jump back a page. This is so bizarre, by the way. I love this. This is a great bug. So C3 was the ASCII value of the first character there. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. If you want to figure out what an ASCII value is, like what C3 means, you can actually do parse int, pass in C3, and tell that it's a base 16 value, and that's going to be 195. And then you can do string from char code 195, and that tells us that is this A with a little, tilde over the top of it. And let's see, so if we can jump into the DOM Explorer, we're going to find out that the link has an anchor in there. It looks like this character right here, and actually what I want to do is I want to grab this link and get that href and start to look at the individual character points for each one of those characters, just out of curiosity. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do document.links, I believe. And so you notice there's only one link inside there. So if we grab the very first one, it's this one. And if we grab its href value, it's this. And if we were to split the href value, we get an array with all of the individual characters. And if we take that and we map, which means we're going to basically change one array into another one, the map is going to give us each character, and we're going to return what is this? The char code at 0. Yes. Okay. So what that does is it converts every one of those individual characters into the character code. So you notice H is character code 106, T is character code 116, P is character code 112, so on and so forth. And so what we wind up with right here, actually I'm going to go ahead and make one slight modification to this. Control-Shift-M to go into single input mode. And I'm going to return, instead of just the character code, I'm going to go ahead and return the character and then the character code in an array. So each one of these arrays, and oh goodness, I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm going to convert this array to a string using stringify, JSON stringify, and that way we actually get like this, so I can very easily see what it is we're looking at. So H is 104, T is 116, P is 112, the colon is 58. We get to the 2 forward slashes, which are 47 each, forum, and then we get to, let's see here. So Alberto is asking, what is the syntax that I'm using in the console? I'm actually using just regular old JavaScript. And so I'm actually using some of the DOM APIs. So you notice over here, one of the first things I did was just called document.links. That's just a kind of a shorthand cut to doing something like document.querySelector all, and then passing an A that have an href. And so that's basically the same thing, but you can just say document.links if you want to. And of course, it's a collection, so you can reference things by their index in the collection, which is why I can pass in document.links 0 and get out the first link. Document.links 1 would give me the second. It's a 0-based index, but kind of self-explanatory after that. And so each item is at the index of that item's position minus 1. So the very first item is at index 0. The second item is at index 1. The third is at index 2. So on and so forth. And so at this point, document.links, open bracket 0, close bracket, gives me one of the links, and I can then call the .href property off of that, which gives me this entire string right here, which is the URL for that first link. And what I'm doing kind of progressively down here is switching from normal characters to actually getting the code point. So I want to know not what H is, I want to know what H's code point is. So computers, as we all know, they really only speak in terms of ones and zeros. So if you think about, let me go ahead and just close this real quick. I'll wipe this out. You think about the letter H. Well, the computer doesn't know what a letter H is. It does know what, for instance, numbers are. So we take this number, H, well, that's number 104. And if you wanted to see what 104 meant and like how you say that in binary, you could do 104 ... toString 2. And so 104 is, it's going to be 2 bytes. Looks like, oh, it's, yeah, just about 2 bytes. You can fill it up in 2 bytes. It'll be 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. So if we were to take 0, if we did like parse int 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, and we said this is a base 2, so this is binary, and then we wanted to take the result of that number, let's say var num equals parse int 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. So we get that num is 104, so we could do string from char code num, and that gets us back to H. So that is tearing a letter down to its binary and then building it back up to an actual alphabetical letter or an alphanumeric character that we can make sense of. And so whenever, that's all we're basically doing at this point, is trying to figure out exactly, here we go, what each one of these characters is represented by. So whenever you look at my code right here, let me go into multi-mode or multi-line mode, and we have a split, and then we have this map. I've got stringify, which takes an object and creates a serialized version of it, which just means it's no longer this dynamic object in memory. It gives me a string that represents that object that I could put in a database someplace, and I could take it back out later on, and then I could parse the string and create that object again. It's basically like, you know, taking a house and you know, getting a, you know, creating a blueprint from the house that is like perfectly you know, spec'd to the house. The blueprint, you know, perfectly represents the house. You can then roll that blueprint up and put that away, and in 20 years take it out, unroll it, and build the house, build the exact same house from that blueprint. So that's essentially what we're doing here with JSON stringifies. We're taking this array of values and we are essentially creating a string that represents that, so that if we ever wanted to recreate that again in the future, we could. But in this case, all I'm doing is dumping that string into the output, so I can easily see the values one beside the other, the H and the you know, 114 or whatever it is. So if I do Control Enter here real quick, you'll notice now I'm dealing with there's actually 100 different items inside here. So if we go through 0 through 9, here's http://4 of the forum, and that's 104, 116, 112, 58, 47, 102, 111, 114. And then we get into the forum, let's see, .org/f/forum, and now we're into kind of the Russian letters here. I think this is V, I think, or B. No, it's not B. I think that's V. I'm really starting. Sh, maybe? Let's see. Okay, and then the E and the C. I'll go like that. Let's see, and then we have T, V, A, K, U, I think. L. Yeah, I think this is L. Okay, anyway. Yep, so we're getting into these characters. You notice these are all like in the higher numbers. And so one of the things I'm kind of curious is it only certain characters that we don't encode very well? So you notice as we're going through and we're looking at these, A, B, sh, yeah, sh. That's a tough one, sh. Because you have like the ch and sh. Like one looks like an H upside down. The other one looks like a W with a tail. And so one thing I noticed though is when I'm looking at these, a lot of these are in the 100s, the 90s, the 40s. And those all seem to be handled really well. But once we get into the 1000, now we're looking at 1086, 1073, 1097. These appear to be the ones that start to get messed up. And so it's once you get into like a certain class of numbers, possibly, that we're starting to run into issues. And so I would love it if somebody would go and file a bug for this on, actually, let's see here. I want to do maybe URL encode on some of these and see what we get. So I'm going to take this character right here. This is going to be 1073. Let's jump back into single line mode. And we're going to do a string from char code 1073. That's going to give us the B, I believe. And if we did URL, now if I do underscore, maybe it's dollar underscore, that is going to be a reference to the last thing the console spit out. So you can do like $0, and this is a reference to the thing that is currently selected in the DOM Explorer, which happens to be a p tag, or $_0, which is, or underscore, which is going to be the last thing that the console spit out, which in this case will also be a p tag because I just did that. And so what I want to do is come up here and get that string from char code, and I want to do URL encode. And I think that is the method. I'll have to double check and confirm. Nope. Let's see here. URL, or maybe it's encode URL rather. Encode URI. So now we do string from char code 1073. Okay, so I think this might be what's happening. The encode URI is creating the. Well, no, that would be correct. So that's the ASCII, the hex encoding of this. So that's DO and B1. And so if we were to convert those back, let's see, parse int DO B1 as 16. Yeah, I think I'm missing something here. And my console is going really slow, which is kind of causing my brain to go a little bit slower. Oh, it's not DO, it's D0. Let's see if that works. If that gets us the. Yeah, this is so. I'm kind of bumping up against my familiarity with the URL encoding because I don't think this is correct. I think this is what we'd expect to see. Ideally, you'd probably just maybe leave the characters in the URL, but worst case scenario, this is what we'd expect to see, but that is not at all what we're seeing whenever we click on this. So you see in the address bar, or down in the status, down towards the, let's see, if I point over here or over here, at the very bottom of the website, you see the actual address showing the right characters. But whenever we open this inside of like a new window, we get the really wild, like D 3 1/4. It's actually very similar. So you see we get the D0, B1. So I'm really not sure what this stuff is. If we just copy some of this. I wonder if we copy some of this and look at the actual character encoding of those and see what they are, what we'll find. So let's see, we have this string right here. We'll do split on that. This will give us the array of individual characters. And if we convert that array using map, where we get char, and we do char code point at 0, we wind up with 208, 190, 208, 177. Yeah, that's not at all what we would expect. So there's definitely something here, something worth filing. It's not at all correct. Because right after forum, we see O, abe, she, e. Yeah. That's not at all what we're seeing down here. So that is worth filing. I can go ahead and do that. Actually, if someone, let's see, who reported that? That was Ivan_KRT on Twitter. So let's see. If anybody in the chat room right now can go over to bugs.microsoftedge.com and file that. The simple repro is well, let's see. Let's do this. So the simple repro would be to take the anchor, take the link from that page, put that into an index.html page, just a very basic HTML page that has a doc type, the HTML root element, a body tag, and then a link inside that body tag that points, to that page. And then the test is just click it. What does the URL say? I'm wondering if I really do want to see if we just do a little bit of scripting real quick what we wind up with. But this is kind of being a pain on my machine here, and so maybe I'm going to switch over to my other machine and try to do the testing there and actually broadcast just through remote desktop or something. Yeah, so Illusionist, it looks like broken encodings. I get the same thing, but it looked like UTF-8 was actually being used on that page. So it could be, my page I didn't specify UTF-8. So I mean, let's try that real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my file just again real quick. And so as this opens up, I believe all we need to do to specify UTF-8 is to set the meta tag in the header. Meta char set equals UTF-8. Links in the first column are okay. So, okay, so Ivan is providing some really helpful information here. So if it's links in the first column are okay, but all other links are not, then that is definitely going to be interesting. So let's go to here. We'll grab this URL. I'm going to go ahead and run Microsoft Edge. We'll go to this address, and we'll look at links in the first column versus links in the fourth column. So let's see, we'll maximize this. We will figure this out sooner or later. What's the expression? Lucha pozna chimnikagda. I think that's the expression. Better late than never. Okay, so this is the first link. If I click this, it's Ocean Horosho. Let's see. Yeah, that works. But if we click the other links, these are being forwarded though. So I think that might be the this might be the difference. If we go ahead and open up our developer tools, the difference may be that one is doing some forwarding and the other one is not. And so I'm going to jump into my network real quick. And once that comes into view, we can empty this out. It's a lot of stuff getting called on this page. And we'll just click a link. This takes me from the front page to this next page here. So that now I'm actually inside of a specific form, I believe. And if we look at the network traffic there, yeah, you notice there is not a redirect on this one. So on this one, it is just a 200 OK. Sends us directly into the page that we requested. Although the developer tools, they do show one of the poorly encoded URLs. The browser itself is right, but the developer tool shows a poorly encoded URL. And so, and this was 200, so there's no redirect here. If we go back, in the markup, this page is identical. think we might even be able to look, for instance, in the console, I think we might be able to call document.charset, yes, and see it is UTF-8. However, if we click a link over here, and check back, there is a redirect. So the redirect may be the issue that causes this. With it being a redirect too, it's tough to say if the encoding is happening on, if the issue with the encoding is happening on the server response. I mean, here's the request URL is being rendered like this. One thing that we can do is we'll jump out of the DevTools real quick. We'll jump back over here, and I want to check this inside Fiddler to see if Fiddler also shows the same type of character encoding issue. And so I'm going to close this down. I don't want to mess with Fiddler on the machine that I'm currently broadcasting from, so I'm going to jump over here to the next machine, and we're going to see what the traffic looks like in transit. If actually, let's see, I'm still going to access it remotely from this machine. So remote. And just make sure my computer is actually online and stuff here. Looks like it's not there. Let me see if I need to wake it up. Okay, so computer is awake now, and we'll see if I can connect to it this time. Let's connect my Wi-Fi and make sure I'm on the right network. I'm on the wrong network. Okay, so we'll get on the correct one. Hey, Action Thomas, how are you? Great, I'm on the correct network now. Okay, so I think I should be able to, actually I'm going to go into command prompt real quick, get my IP address for this computer, just run an ipconfig/all, or just ipconfig. This is my 219 machine. So now from this machine, I'll run remote desktop, and I'll connect my 219. There we are. Now we're going to be in business here. Okay, so I've got this on my desktop now. I'm looking good. Okay, so Action Thomas is saying that they clicked on the link while monitoring in Fiddler. The requested URL is the bad one. So Edge sends the bad URL before being redirected. Okay, that is perfect. Then this is, I think that's more than enough to really consider this issue, well resolved. So if we put a link on a page can be UTF, that uses character codes beyond 1,000, just kind of generally speaking, they will be poorly encoded whenever the request is made. So let's look at that real quick. That's what I was connecting to the other machine for. Connecting to this other machine. Okay. Whoa. Wow, that was just the most bizarre thing ever. I don't even... whatever. Something just crazy magical just happened on my computer. Okay, so let's see if I can share my my desktop here in just a moment. So we'll do... Goodness, that was wild. I had like a bunch of small little artifacts all over my remote desktop. It's doing it again. Okay, I'm back and running. All right, let me share my desktop real quick. We'll do bottom right for the scene. Okay, so here we are. And the issue was if we go to, what was this URL? This was, oh, it looks like I'm having some pointer issues. Okay, it's working. What was this? This was forum.org. And if we were to open up Fiddler at the same time, and I'll just dock that to the right, the page to the left, and we'll click a link in the first column. Let me shrink the page down just a bit so I can make sure I'm looking at the right columns here. So this is the, yeah, I see what you're saying. So whenever we request it, we actually get the, well, this is the hex. So this is going to be the ASCII, I believe, or the Unicode pairs. If we do the other one where we actually request from the fourth column, so we jump back. Still getting files loaded in here. A lot of files loaded in here. Let's see, okay. And I come out here and I click on one of these links. Should see that appear down here in just a moment. There we go. Okay, so I'm seeing the interesting. Let's say here we actually see the right type of characters. Up here we don't. That's the 404. This is the 301. There's a 404 to this as well. And this actually shows the proper kind of rendering of those. Yeah, so so change the question mark in the URL with the dash and it works. So the question mark actually signifies the start to the query string parameter. And that is interesting. So it may be the URI component portion that gets messed up. So let me see if I can inspect this element real quick. All right, so I have that selected. Let's go to our console, and I'll do $0 for the element that I have currently selected. I can try to increase the size of this a little bit. Whenever I'm going through the remote desktop, though, and I start to increase the size, things do get a little strange. So right now we have $0 is a reference to one of those. So if we do $0.0.href, we're going to get a reference to that element's link. And if I do encode URI component, and I put that, point that towards the href, looks like this doesn't give us the crazy looking characters. This gives us the encoded ones. Same with encode URI. I think it's okay. You know, this is probably enough to file a bug on. You know, we'll start to look at this is obviously going to be inside the encoding team, networking, and yeah, I don't know if this is really probably not a networking issue, because this is very likely happening before the network is even given the resource handle or the URL. But the actual repro itself is very simple. So if we do $0 outer HTML, and we take this item right here, so copy item, and we jump into our desktop, where I think we might have had a reductions folder made. Let me just confirm that real quick. Actually, we don't even need a reductions folder. We just put this directly into a fiddle someplace. So if we go to jsfiddle.net, paste that into the HTML tab up there, take the double quotes away from the anchor, and save that. Just copy that URL real quick. We can run this. And here we see, let's see here. What is this complaining about? Okay, yeah. I was on HTTPS with a non-secure link. We want to make sure this opens up in its own window, so we do target blank on that as well. There we go. Yeah, so that, I mean, that's a very simple repro. Whenever you look at the actual address that's being opened up right there. And so if we do a quick update on this, we can now file this bug. This is capital L7QNC9 capital LR-1. And we can now file this on bugs.microsoftedge.com. So if somebody here who speaks Russian fluently would like to file that bug on bugs.microsoftedge.com, I would greatly appreciate it. We have a couple team members that I could definitely reach out to almost immediately, who would be able to work with this site and everything very easily. Yeah, that's what Action Thomas, if you wind up filing this bug, please go ahead and mention that the whole part about the query string, because the query string is preceded by the question mark and the address. So once you have that question mark, then you start to put in value, like properties and values. Basically, you start to put in like variables and values. So like query string username equals foo, ampersand age equals 36 or something, so on and so forth. And so if whoever files this bug, and please, if you are going to file this bug, please indicate so in the chat room right now, so nobody else goes and files it, so we can all just wait. But whoever files this bug, please mention as well the issue with the query string parameter, that if you change it from a query string to the actual URL, the structure is maintained, it sounds like, from what Action Thomas is saying. But if you do keep the query string, then the encoding is kind of broken. And so we want to confirm that for the time being as well. And let me see here. If I just go, I'm going to try this again from my computer. So what was the address there? That was, if I looked at that, so I went to jsfiddle.net/capital L7QNC9LR/1. That seems to work. So I'll paste that inside the chat room for anyone who's interested in it. Let's see here. The chat room is here. First, I have to sign in on this machine, that is. Okay, so now I can paste that in the chat room. So this is the small JS fiddle that I just put together. It has a single link inside of it. The link, whenever it's clicked, does the crazy stuff. What I actually want to try and do real quick, though, because again, I'm getting back to having those tests that pretty much let you know whether or not they have passed or they have failed. What I think I want to do is actually open up a pop-up window that has this URL as a query string parameter to the pop-up window, and then read that URL back out and show it on the page. And if we read it back out and it looks crazy and it doesn't match the actual href or the href encoded, then we can say, yeah, it's failed. It looks really bizarre. Like there's something that has gone seriously wrong here. Because just opening this link, interesting. So I'm going to try this again. Okay, it's worth noting. I'm curious, so do we have any Windows Insiders in the chat room right now? I want to know if Windows Insiders are seeing something different from people who are on build 14.393. So if you're a Windows Insider, please click on the link that I posted, and then click on the link that's inside that fiddle, and let me know if you see the crazy stuff. Okay, so Action, you're saying you're on build 14. So let's see. So Action Thomas, I'd love to know which version of Edge you're seeing this issue with. Jorge Moreira says, no build 14.393.67 tem bug chato no Edge, ele não fecha quando tem várias abas abertas. Abre a janela pop-up para confirmar se quer fechar tudo, mas não. Okay, so George is saying that the windows, if there are multiple windows, it looks like opened up, that it just won't close. Então, o Jorge, se você consegue, grava um vídeo. Você pode ir por youtube.com, se você quiser. Você pode gravar seu desktop pelo lá, eu acho. Se você não consegue, baixa uma aplicação, por exemplo, Screen to GIF. Você pode baixar no codeplex.com, eu acho. Se você ir para Google, a Bing e colocar Screen to GIF, SCREENTOGIF. Você pode baixar essa aplicação, você pode gravar um vídeo 10 a 15 segundos mostrando a situação, porque eu acho que agora eu sempre tenho muitos abas abertas e não vejo esse problema. Então, se você pode me dar um GIF, vou ficar muito agradecido. Let's see here. So Action Thomas is on build 14.901 of Edge and reproduces this. I'm actually testing from a slightly fresher build. I mean, really, not a lot different from the current fastering, and I'm not reproing. This is really interesting. So if I click on the link, I'm control click. I'm just doing a regular click, right clicking, open new window, and every single one of these keeps the address bar clean and clear of the terrible encoding. It actually just keeps the original characters themselves. So go ahead and file. Yeah, you still file this on bugs.microsoftedge.com right here. There we go, right there. And I'll go and I'll mention that it's not reproing on some of the internal builds, but still, this is something that we want to look into and make sure that we understand what's going on. All right, so let's jump back over. I'm gonna let Ivan know that we talked about this. That might have been him here in the chat room earlier. Issue confirmed, although it does not repro on my internal. Slightly fresher. Build. Okay, so if nobody has posted that bug to bugs@microsoftedge.com yet, I am going to go ahead and go and do so. So right now I do not see any post on there. So I'm going to go ahead and start to open the new issue. Russian characters encoded poorly. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. Action Thomas. Actually, you know what? I would really, let's see here. Yeah, let me try it from this machine because I want to make sure I understand the query string issue as well that you were pointing out. So this is all part of, I'm going to do two links on here. Let's see, I don't think I'm sharing my screen, am I? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I'm going to make two links on here. So we'll take the first link and we'll put in a hard break. The second link, it's going to be a broken link, but I'm going to go ahead and do what Action Thomas was suggesting and just take out the query string entirely. So we'll do that takes out the question mark, and I'll just put a dash in there. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put a pound sign. We'll see if this works. So we'll run this. I now have two links. I'll go ahead and open this in a new tab and open the second one in a new tab. So we have both tabs open now. The first one has the horrified, the terribly broken URL. The second one does not. So the presence of a query string does impact this. So you can see the difference here. This one has the query string. You can see the dollar sign there, or I'm sorry, the question mark. The second one does not have a query string. So that is worth noting. I'm going to put this into, where should we put this? This would be, you know, sometimes I run across issues like this. I'm not even quite sure what the best path is for this. So we'll start just with JavaScript language, probably. Maybe. Yeah, I think I'll just start with JavaScript language. I mean, because we're talking about encoding, but it's really not. Oh, goodness. I have no idea. Oh, goodness. Let's just put it inside. Nope, never mind. If we do JavaScript, they're going to send us over to GitHub. Let's put this inside. We'll do HTML DOM because I mean we do have the DOM method for encoding URIs, encoding you know, components, and so we'll put this inside there, and we'll just put the first repro, which is to actually go to the URL. You close down some of my tabs. And I'll get an updated fiddle that doesn't have a query string parameter in it. And let's see, so Action Thomas, you're on 14.901. So I'm going to go ahead and use your browser version number whenever I'm submitting this. So we'll say step 1, visit this JS fiddle URL. Step 2, right click and select open in new tab for both links. Step 3, check the URLs of both new tabs for consistency. All right, so that sounds fairly straightforward. Open new tab, open new tab, check the URLs for consistency. And let's see, we'll also add the note on here that note that one is encoded poorly while the other is not. The relationship is yet unclear, but if there is no query string on the end of the URL, the encoding issue doesn't reproduce. So I think this sounds yeah, I think this sounds fairly straightforward. Let me know if this sounds like a good kind of repro instruction. So right now I have step 1 being, and please feel free to go through this process with me. So step 1 is to visit this URL. So if you are watching right now and you have access to the chat window, go ahead and click on that URL. The next step is to right click and select open in new tab for both links. So don't click on them with your left mouse. Right click and select open with new tab. So now you should have 2 tabs in addition to your original tab opened up. Check the URLs of both tabs for consistency. So the 2 tabs should have identical URLs. Note that one is encoded poorly while the other is not. And I placed below that, the relationship is yet unclear, but if there is no query string on the end of the URL, the issue doesn't reproduce. So let me know if that sounds accurate, and we'll proceed forward. What I want to do as well is I'm going to take a screenshot of these 2 issues. Not from this machine. This machine doesn't reproduce. Okay, I'm going to take a screenshot from a slightly older machine. From this one. Okay, we'll dock that to the side. Where's my print? Oh, there it is. Print screen. So now I'm just actually grabbing an image to post along with this. Okay, So I can select this, rectangle select, all is nice and well, everyone's happy, and cool. Image, crop. Okay, I'm just grabbing a good screenshot now of both of these URLs so I can put it in the bug as well. And let's see, I can host this on Imager temporarily. Imager is probably one of those sites I never want to visit while sharing my desktop. It can range from hilarious to like supremely inappropriate. Let's see. Okay, so I'm creating my image. Right. Yeah, first link is broken as expected. The first link is the one. They're actually probably both going to be broken to some degree because we're changing the query string into an actual, a document fragment or a fragment, URL fragment in the second case. And so they're both broken to some degree, but at least one doesn't send you off into what is presumably a 404 page. So this is imager.com/ygm0yw9.png. And I'll put this image inside here. Okay. All right, I'm submitting the bug, people. Here we go. Open this issue. All right, so this is bug number, and I'm going to put in, what was it, 14901. I believe that was the version that everyone is using, that they're reproing on. So 39.14.901. So 39 would be the Edge. So Edge HTML is 14.14.901. 14.901, and that's a bug in Microsoft Edge. I'm curious, can someone test this inside Internet Explorer and see if Internet Explorer has the same issue? Let me see here. I might be able to do that as well, actually. So I copy this URL, go into Internet Explorer. It's been a while, old friend. Haven't opened you in a while. Let's see. And I'll click on a link. Looks like IE. No repro in IE. So Internet Explorer handles this just fine. So this would be a regression then. Okay. So, okay, the bug number is 8485887. So if you have been able to confirm this on your machine as well, there is the bug. please go ahead, sign in to bugs.microsoftedge.com and click the Me Too button on there. That will actually indicate that you recognize that this issue exists. I'm going to probably ping one of my coworkers about this and let them know that I can see it on 2/3 of my machines. I have a machine here that is on 14.901, I believe. No, I think 14.393 this machine is. And this one is not, this one's a little bit behind 14.900s. I'm in the 14.800s, I think, on this one. And my desktop is in the 14.900s, but it is a little bit higher than 14.901. So that's the kind of range that we're dealing with. My desktop does not repro this issue. My desktop appears to encode this correctly, which is really nice to hear. All right, so I'm responding to Ivan on Twitter now, saying that it's able to repro this, posting the link to the bug. So even if I copy the URL from Opera and paste it into Edge, the address bar is URL encoded. Still broken when I navigate there. Yeah, this might wind up being an Edge application thing. I mean, there's a few different ways this could go. This is in that kind of foggy territory of who does it belong to. Yes, we'll see. The bug is filed now. Please, if you're able to reproduce it, go to the link that I just provided over here inside the chat window and click Me Too. That would be super helpful. Looks like, nice. We already got like 4 people to click that. That's amazing. You all rock. Oh my goodness. I should do this every Saturday. I do this every Saturday. Never mind. I should continue to do this every Saturday. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log into our internal bug tracker, and I'm going to give this some like super bumpy weight and make this important so that we get some attention to it immediately. Let's see here. Oh, seriously, people? Okay, let's see. Gonna go on mute for 1 second. Okay, now we're back. So Illusion cannot pass the sign on the issue tracker. Illusion, you will need to have an MSA. So that would be like a Hotmail account, an Outlook account, a Live account, something like that. You should be able to get in. If you're having an issue with it, though, just kind of share a couple more details. Maybe we need to file a bug against the issue tracker. But by and large, it seems to work fairly consistently and reliably for me. Okay, so yep, that has made its way to our internal tracker. And I'm going to say this is a regression. And I want to make sure, typically what I do whenever I file bugs, interesting. Illusion, try, I mean, that sounds very odd. Try clearing your wow, login surf. try clearing your temporary files and restart Edge. That doesn't sound familiar, but it doesn't sound like a... Yeah, Action, you know what? You have a good point, Action. If you can try this inside a UWP app, if there's a way in which, if you can think of a UWP app that would work out fairly well for this experiment, please do so. It is not uncommon for some things to not be issues with Edge, but to be issues with UWP, and not so much issues, just limitations, because UWP is a relatively new thing. I ran into an issue yesterday where UWP apps, they operate at a lower permission level on the computer to protect the end user, so that if a script were to get in there, it can't break out and have root access to the machine. And that's fantastic until you need the machine, the browser in this instance, to be able to read from an arbitrary or restricted folder. For instance, say you are a graphic designer and you install custom fonts from Typekit or Skyfonts, or these different custom font services, and they don't put the fonts inside your font folder. They put them inside of a private folder so that you can't get in there and steal the font files, which makes total sense. The problem is Edge, as a UWP app, cannot read from any arbitrary folder. It doesn't have the rights to do so. So whenever you come across a website that needs to use, for instance, Open Sans or Roboto or something like that, the app font face rule or something like that, the browser will say, hey, operating system, do we have Open Sans? And the operating system will say, yeah, we totally have Open Sans. Why, do you need it? And they'll be like, yeah, dude, I totally need it. And it'll try to read it, and it won't be able to because of permission restrictions. And so it's not uncommon for UWP to have certain restrictions in place. Yeah, so Illusion, you said you could do it from private mode where you weren't logged in before. Yeah, I've seen that a couple times too. I am not able to reproduce it. Like I think it has maybe hit me once or twice in the last 6 months or something like that. You shouldn't have to log in from private mode though. But just see, like, after you've cleared your session and stuff, if it still persists, let me know. But anyway, what I was, whenever I file these bugs, typically what I try to do, so if you've given me a bug, if you've shared with me a broken site or something like that on Twitter, by and large, when I file the bug, I try to keep a link to the tweet or the Stack Overflow question in the bug itself, so that whenever it is eventually resolved, I can go back out and let the original person know that it was resolved. And it was actually by this method that I knew exactly who I was speaking with about 6 to 8 months ago about this font loading issue where Edge was having the inability to read certain fonts. I knew exactly who it was. I was able to reach out to them yesterday within seconds of looking them up and get some more context about the issue they were facing and provide a solution that ultimately explains why they were facing that issue inside Edge. It's super convenient. So I'm going to go ahead and post a link inside this bug to Ivan's tweet. Copy link address. And I don't think this won't be a publicly viewable comment, but it's okay. Like we kind of went through this together. Excellent. So that is all done. Let's see the next item up. Let's scroll up. Let's see. So Steve writes again and says, also, I have a bug when I close the Edge browser. It makes event that need to close the Edge application view web page extension. Steve, I'm not quite sure I understand. It sounds like maybe there's an extension related issue whenever you're trying to close the browser. If that's the case, an animated GIF or something like that. Again, I encourage people to use screen to GIF. It works out very, very well. A picture is worth well more than 1,000 words, especially in this industry where we have a lot of acronyms, a lot of overloaded terms. So yeah, please, a video or something that would be great. So Andre Grindstaff asks, how about a pause download feature in Edge? That's it. We get questions in the past, and again, take all of my words here with a grain of salt. I work on the web platform team where we're dealing with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. when we start to talk about the application's ability to pause stuff and so forth, that is a very different thing. Actually, let me share with this gentleman. Whenever we're talking about the application's ability to do this type of stuff, these are functionality and features that have to be scrutinized very closely, because we're talking about the application's size, its performance. When you talk about the ability to pause downloads and that type of stuff, you're talking about surfacing UI components, buttons, and further controls. It really starts to span a lot of different people's territories, and you want to be very careful and conservative about the way in which you start to introduce new features and functionality like that into any application. This is not just a browser discussion. This is about software in general. And so, yeah, it's well worth the discussion. Those types of feedback, though, I'm trying to think, the best place to probably provide that would be in the feedback hub. And so if you're on Windows 10, you just hit your Windows key, type in feedback, and that brings up the feedback hub, and you can provide that feedback inside there. And ultimately, when you do, copy the link, share it with people, see if you can kind of get some people excited about the idea, because if there is a desire there for the ability to arbitrarily pause and resume downloads, and we don't presently support it, then we definitely want to know about that. We definitely want to know what features the community really, really enjoys and is looking forward to. Okay, so let's see if we can keep progressing up my timeline here. So looks like Steve Pal Steve responded back regarding the Logitech issue. So if you recall, we looked at Logitech earlier. Logitech presumably was showing issues or having issues with HTTPS pages. We couldn't quite reproduce that. And so I want to see if, what is this? Live dashboard. Kind of experimenting with the internet right now. There was a button, so I pushed it. Okay. Let's see. Oh, nice. So we're going on 2.5 hours of broadcasting here. So we looked at Logitech earlier. The report was, the claim was that on HTTPS pages on Logitech, you just get a blank screen. Unfortunately, we weren't able to reproduce that. But Steve Pal Steve says the Logitech create account page, the link to verify email, Edge, and IE11 blank page. So I'm not going to go through and create an account on there, but this might be something that we can look into just real quick. So let's go back to sharing my screen. This is the screenshot we just took for the last bug. I'm going to go to the logitech.com. And from here, if I presumably come up here, maybe I can make an account by clicking on this silhouette. Let's see. Subscribe. I don't see, maybe in the shopping cart. Let's see. Let's go grab a keyboard again. Let's see if we can find a way to get to this create an account page. So let's get this one, the MK235. Why not? Buy now. And we'll proceed to checkout. Presumably, at checkout, they're going to want me to create an account. So let's see if it works. Proceed to checkout. Okay, so here they want me to create an account. New customer, you can check out as a guest or check the box below to become a member and receive great offers. Well, clearly I want to become a member and receive great offers. I don't know what kind of crazy person wouldn't. Create an account. Okay, so I'm still not seeing a blank page here. But Ryan is actually finding another URL on this domain that appears to have issues. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, I'm not seeing a blank page here. Let me go ahead and let this individual know that we are talking about this issue on the feed, though. Let's see. I'm actually share this with everybody. Thank you for the feedback. We're looking. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and tweet that out. Logitech.com. All right, so now let's see. Ryan has been super helpful today, everybody. Applause for Ryan. Let's see here. You know what? So Action Thomas, I'm just totally going off on a rabbit trail here. I actually noticed that WinF looked like it was taking a screenshot. I didn't know that it was taking a screenshot, though, and then opening up the feedback hub. I thought it was just opening up the feedback hub. But it does kind of snap the screen, like if you do WinKey, print screen, which is if you ever need to, quickly print your screen, just hold down the Windows key, hit print screen. That saves your screen to the pictures / screenshots folder. You can just do print screen. And that'll give you, put a copy of your screen into your clipboard so you can paste it somewhere. Or if you have a window selected, like if you have Edge selected, you can do Alt Print Screen, and that will take a picture of Edge and put it into your clipboard. And so you can paste that somewhere. Super helpful key combinations. So let's go ahead and look at now Logitech. This is where we're at right now. We're looking at Logitech and trying to figure out what's going on in this case. So we have a report now that HTTPS pages simply don't load. I'm not able to reproduce that particular issue, but as Ryan pointed out in the chat room, which is, if I were on a different view, let's see here, if I minimize this and go to the top view, as Ryan pointed out in the chat room, apparently if we go to support, contact us, the page never loads. So let's try that out real quick. I'm going to go to the bottom right, share my screen again. And here's my browser window. And we're going to go to, from the front page, we'll jump back and we'll go to support. Support. And then what was it? Support, contact us. Was the, okay, contact us down here. So looks like it's loading for me at least. Let me know if, let me know if you're seeing something different, because it seems to have loaded just fine. You picked it from the drop-down menu. Okay, so if we go support, contact us, looks like it's the, nope, not the same URL. So you notice the URL I'm on right now has en_us contact, and it's at support.logitech. So let's try it from this place. It looks like it auto forwards. Yeah, I would check that again. Maybe do a hard refresh of the page, which is just Control R. Try that one more time. I'm actually not able to reproduce that. If anybody else is in the chat room though and can give this a shot, just go to Logitech, and then from the support drop down right here, select Contact Us. For Ryan, this page is not loading, it sounds like. Nice. So Action Thomas is all over it. Thank you. So it looks like Action Thomas did a quick UWP application with a web view and confirmed that the Russian encoding issue that we looked at just an hour ago or something reproduces there as well. So thank you very much, Action Thomas. I appreciate it. If anyone else wants to try and test out the Logitech issue, I'm sure that would be very much appreciated as well. As it sits right now, I'm not able to reproduce, unfortunately, what the issue is. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and jump. Yeah, I'm going to just share that I'm still not able to reproduce any of these issues. One user reported problems accessing Contact Us, but I wasn't able to repro. It really, I really don't ever want to close anything as no repro, because especially take Ryan's situation here. Ryan is a smart person. Ryan was very helpful today with some of the Battlefield debugging and stuff that we were doing earlier. By the way, Ryan, let me know if you filed that import node bug or the import node reduction that you had earlier. And there's clearly something happening on Ryan's machine that's not happening on my machine, and so I wouldn't want to ever kind of discount and say, well, clearly it's just no problem whatsoever. It's like there may be something in fact happening. So I don't want to too quickly disregard this issue and say, well, it's just simply a no repro. So if anybody else, especially when we start to talk about where all of us are in the world, if you're someplace else, definitely give this a shot, because different servers, they respond differently to different requests from different parts of the world. So yeah, definitely if anybody else in the chat room can assist Ryan in kind of getting 2 or 3 more test cases, maybe we can better understand what's happening here. Let's scroll up the timeline and see what's next. So we have okay, so looks like there was a report here of a page that is, quote, totally screwed up in Edge. So let's see if I can reproduce this. I'm going to go ahead and share the address with this individual and just make sure that they realize that we are now addressing the issue on the feed. I want to see, I want to compare this page to see exactly what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so the issue is allegedly that nu.nl is, quote, totally screwed up inside Microsoft Edge. So that is going to be where I turn my attention now, and I actually want to be able to compare. I'm looking right now from my desktop, and I don't immediately see any serious issues. So what I'm going to do is compare this with Chrome and see what the side-by-side impact is. Let's see, so I'm going to compare, I'm looking Chrome on the left screen, Edge on the right screen, and it doesn't immediately seem clear to me. Well, there is one thing missing. Okay. So there is, let me pull this up over here on this screen. That way we can kind of share it on the monitor. So if I go and I jump in and share the desktop view, and we go to nu.nl, and what I want to do is actually I want to test this in more than one browser. I don't know if on this machine I have a second browser. We'll see here in just a second, though. So this page actually did take quite a bit longer to load on this machine than it did on my desktop. Although I don't think that wasn't, as far as the description of the issue went, the issue was that the page is totally screwed up, which is a fairly broad description. It could be layout, could be performance, could be many things. It looks like right now I'm going to accept this cookie warning. And okay, I do have, it does look like there was something, you saw there was a news module down here, news video, actually there it is, news videos that dropped down. That might be, well, there's just a lot of ads loading up inside here, so it's moving stuff around while I'm using it. So I want to go ahead and check this in a second browser. Let's see, I'm going to download, let's go quickly and download something new. Let's go get the Brave WebKit. So this is built off of Chromium. This will give me a quick side-by-side of a Chromium-based, Blink-based browser and an Edge HTML one. Let's close down some of my windows here. So just a quick update. Looks like Ryan Conrad is saying after clearing cache, it works again. Probably cache broken, redirect or something. No clue what caused it. Can't repro anymore. And I believe this was a reference to the Logitech support contact us page. So excellent. Thank you, Ryan, for the update. Okay, so I've got this page open here on the side. Let me dock that, and we'll put Brave over here on the left. And I'll go ahead and open this to nu.nl. Okay, so we're getting responsive tablet site in both of these. Forgot that I need to accept this. All right, so I'm going to zoom out on both of these because I really want to see the desktop view. So if I zoom out once over there and I zoom out once over here, this is the desktop view. I'm not immediately seeing, it's not the full desktop view actually, you can still see the menu is collapsed. So if I open up the menu in both of these, the menu looks pretty much identical across the board as well. Let's see here. Clicking on either one of these brings it back. If I select presumably weather here, I'm just guessing. Let's see, so I have an ad. That's right, so Brave is going to block that ad. Let me turn the shields off and let it load how it normally would. Okay, so let's see, we are now looking side by side. I'm still not seeing any major differences between a Chromium-based browser and the Edge HTML-based browser. So I'm gonna have to say for this one, we need more details, need more information, because it's not quite clear what the issue is. Okay, so I'm saying not clear what the complaint is. I compared an Edge and Brave and saw no noticeable differences. So tweeting that out. And let's see what's next. So we got Chris saying thank you very much. Chris, thank you very much for helping us out. Let's see, we got Michael says, is there an update as to why Google services are not working on Edge? Visiting relatives and they have the same issue. I actually, so Google services not working on Edge, I would need more information for that as well. Unfortunately, we used to have, and you notice in this particular tweet, the amazing Colleen Williams was referenced, because Colleen literally knows everything that there is to know about anything of importance. And if you're not following Colleen, you really should. She is at COLL Williams on Twitter. Google services, so we have had in the past, we'll kind of take a quick talk about the early days of Edge. Let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and respond to this publicly. Now discussing this and the birth of Microsoft Edge on the stream. Okay, so let's, I guess, go ahead and talk about this for just a second, because the question was, why aren't certain Google services working on Microsoft Edge? And this is far better today than it was historically. It used to be a lot worse, like really bad, probably. And the reason why that is the case is because if you look at the way Edge was conceived, the way it was born and initially developed, it was actually designed in such a way that it would confuse Google services. It would confuse quite a bit of websites, and this was good confusion. We talked about earlier how Battlefield and New York Times and these websites, even TweetDeck, they are using JavaScript libraries and JavaScript frameworks that are oftentimes half a decade old, 5 years old or more sometimes. And it is just a example of that. The web simply does not get updated as much as it really ought to be updated, and so you have to take into consideration there is now code running on Battlefield.com, code running on TweetDeck, and in many of these places that is intended for very old versions of IE, when in fact users today that use those services are probably not going to be using them from IE8 or IE9 or something like that. If you are a gamer and you want to visit Battlefield.com, you're probably not in the demographic that is using IE7 today. And so, but the code still exists for those browsers. And so what happens is, whenever we created Microsoft Edge, what we had to do was figure out a way to separate ourselves from Internet Explorer so that we didn't get that old code. When Internet Explorer 8, 9, and 10 go onto the internet, they suffer at the hands of user agent sniffing. And what user agent sniffing is, it is just an attempt to identify the visitor's browser based on some properties of the browser. There's one property called the user agent property. And in fact, I can go ahead and show this to you real quick. Let me pull up my own browser and we'll just share the screen here. So we'll switch to the bottom right view, pull this up again. And I'll go ahead and we'll close down Brave there. And we'll open up Internet Explorer, Edge, rather. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and maybe we'll open up Internet Explorer too. So we'll do a quick run, iExplorer. No, come on. Okay. We'll open up Internet Explorer here. That's going to have really, really bad DPI scaling. And here I'll just go to jsfiddle.net. I'll go to jsfiddle.net in both of these. And so over here we'll go to jsfiddle.net as well. And we'll dock these side by side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run one simple line of code. It's going to be alert navigator.userAgent, and I'm going to run it over here. and I'm going to run it over here. So alert navigator.userAgent. And okay, we're gonna have some issues with that second one, but if you're viewing this on the 1080p broadcast, then maybe this won't be too bad. In fact, I might be able to just I think you can do Control C to copy that value. Yeah, okay, so I can do Control C, and then you can kind of get an idea of what it says here. So this is the Internet Explorer 11 user agent string. This is the string that identifies the browser to the server and to any other type of application that tries to query it. And this is the Edge user agent string over here, which happens to be on a slightly dated build. This is 14.899. And so you'll notice the similarities between these two. They both start with Mozilla 5.0. And that's pretty much a standard for all browsers today. They pretty much all start with Mozilla 5.0. They both say Windows NT 10.0. One of them says Win64. The other one says WoW64. Then we have this one on the left side is using the Edge HTML engine. And so at the very end, you'll see Edge 14.899. That is a reference to the Edge HTML engine. This one over here is using Trident. So you notice it's using version 7 of Trident. But in the middle, you also notice that we have Apple WebKit 5.37.36, Gecko, which is the engine behind Firefox, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have Chrome 51, some portion there, and then Safari. So it looks like the browsers are lying about who they are. And this is not limited to Internet Explorer and to Edge. This is with all browsers. So you can do this yourself. If you have, if you're using another browser, if you're inside Chrome, Firefox, Brave, Vivaldi, anything at all, even non-browsers do this. You can go to your favorite search engine, type in what is my user agent string, and it will tell you what your user agent string is. And no matter which browser you're in, it's going to have components there that come from other browsers. So the web had a great idea of what Internet Explorer's user agent string looks like because it has been watching it for years. It has watched it evolve slowly, and the web has adjusted to it to continue to block out Internet Explorer users from certain web experiences. So whenever Edge was created, we took a copy of Trident. Remember, IE is using Trident. We froze this copy, basically froze Trident and created a clone of it. And then we ripped out all the proprietary stuff. So all of the stuff like CSS calculated expressions and ActiveX support and all this kind of tons and tons of stuff that just doesn't belong in a modern interoperable web browser today. We took all of that out and we said, okay, now let's see how it does. Actually, even before that, let me back up. We made the copy of Trident and we took the user agent string off. So now we have this nugget here, which is the functionality of Internet Explorer, but without the identity of Internet Explorer. So whenever the web looks to see what this is, we say, oh, we're Chrome. So we just tell them we're some other browser because we want to see if we don't identify ourselves as IE, how bad is the web? How much code is written for browsers other than Internet Explorer? And it was really bad. It was really bad. And so what we decided, okay, like this is good. We know at least whenever we stop identifying ourselves as IE, we know what code we run into on the web. So now we have to start to implement our core code base such that it reflects the needs and desires of the web that it is now running on. So we built a browser around the web as it exists. Now, that's different than usually we think of. You need to have a standards compliant browser that follows all of the specs. All well and good. But more importantly, we want to have a browser that works for the web as it exists. And the web is not always strictly coded to standards. It is more often than not coded to standards. I think it could be arguably stated. And so we developed a browser that was coded to the web as it exists today. And And so what this required was we had to start making modifications to the user agent string. I'm trying to think what in the world got me off onto this topic. Either way, it's been a fun discussion, like rambling here. And so you have to make these modifications. I know, yes, because the old files and stuff on these websites. And so you notice, while we've made a radically new browser and all this type of stuff, we had to change the user agent string because otherwise we would have a code base that looks more like Chrome and Safari and stuff than it does Internet Explorer. But we would have websites still giving us Internet Explorer code because websites themselves, they don't get updated all that often. You think about back in the late 90s, around IE6 and stuff, it simply didn't get updated all that often in the early 2000s. Web pages are not really immune to that ailment themselves. Web pages, they get built, they get deployed, and they oftentimes get forgotten. Sometimes dependencies, they get listed, they get used, they oftentimes get forgotten, or they aren't maintained. As a result, you wind up with very old code on very modern websites sometimes, and it causes some problems. And so, it's the web is a very difficult place to kind of move freely. Let's see here. We've got nice. So moving up my timeline, the next item is from Alaskan Jackson, and that is Alaskan Jackson on Twitter, and looks like it is a picture of I believe Jackson, maybe someplace with a giant Samsung giving the thumbs up. So back at you, Jackson. Let's keep moving up the thread here. So Steve Pell Steve referring to Logitech again, saying when you create an account is when you start to see the issues. Hi, Simon. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in from Nigeria. So Steve Pell Steve says it's whenever you're on Logitech and you actually start to create an account. But that's actually what I was doing there. I went through the account setup procedure without actually filling in the form or anything like that. So if it takes one step further, if I have to actually fill in the form and submit it, then that's good information to have. But the actual account sign-up page didn't seem to present any options or any opposition. Let's see. So we have John M. from at the Freedom Suit on Twitter. I love Microsoft Edge, but AdBlock Plus doesn't work in it, so I have to use it less, which is strange because it's in the extension store. Yeah, I would. Let's see here. I'd love to know a bit more information. What exactly is not working about it? Are you seeing duplicate instances? CC Call Williams. And I'm adding Colleen Williams to this because, again, she knows everything, literally. And if you're not following Colleen, I'm reprimanding you right now. Like, you really need to be following Colleen. So, all right, let's move up the timeline here. We've got Ivan saying thanks for the work on the Russian encoding bug. So thank you to everybody who was kind of instrumental in helping getting that one filed. Let's see. So we have a tweet here from Robert Herman. The Twitter account is RH. Wow, that's okay. RHRMN. So this is presumably another. I'm sorry, do you mean Colin? Yep, I don't know what I said here. Yep, I'm sorry, Simon. I don't know what the issue is here. Did I say Colin? I don't know. So, Simon, I believe I said Simon earlier. Kalu. I have no idea what I did wrong. Oh no, Colleen. Ah, okay, this makes total sense. I thought maybe I had said Colin instead of Kalu for the last name there. Yes, so Ryan Conrad, thank you, Ryan. I apologize for the confusion there. Ryan Conrad just posted Colleen Williams' handle there, and she is, again, seriously, this is no hyperbole. She literally knows everything about everything that is worth knowing. Let's go on now. So I've got another URL here that we will look into. This is interesting. So this particular URL, this may not be a front-end issue. This may be a server-side issue. Okay, let's look at this. This is cool. This can be a fun one. So this does not seem like it's a front-end issue. There's a new URL here that we can go ahead and kind of dig into and inspect together. I'm going to broadcast that we're talking about it. Okay, so the URL is supplycollins.com. So Simon, this was one of the things that confused me. You said, did you mean Colin? Right when you said that, I was looking at the URL supply Collins, and I was thinking, like, did I just unintentionally say the URL name? Because I typically want to check out the URL to make sure it's not anything inappropriate or anything like that. But I thought maybe I had mumbled Colin as I was reading the title there, or the address. So let's go ahead and pull up Supply Collins real quick. Let's see. So let's pull up here. We're inside this. We've got a couple. Let's close IE. Take care. Rest in peace. All right. And let's pull up Supply Collins. So supplycollins.com. You notice we actually get this portal startup. It just fails to even give us the web page. Not cool. This is it doesn't really tell us why. It just says there's an exception here. Startup halted. But if we try the same thing, and what was it? I just installed another browser. Yeah, Brave. Or not Brave. No. I don't want games. Okay. There we go. Brave desktop app. Let's do that. Let's see if it works inside here. So it's the same exact URL. Supply Collins. And it looks like from the tab, supply welcome. Yep. So we actually have a site that works over here. The request is honored, but inside Edge, the request is not honored. So let's see. Oh, and this is awesome. So it looks like the Freedom Suite has just has responded back with more information. So John, we will definitely, if you're listening to this, we'll be definitely talking about that here in just a moment. Let's see, I'm going to just update that. Okay, so next step. Let's see. We're looking at the same site, supplycollins.com. Clearly, there's some type of forward in here, and they are presumably right now looking at. It doesn't work on Opera also. So Atos, thank you very much for confirming that. So this looks like it's not just an Edge thing. Now, whenever we start to, but at this point right now, I'm thinking, okay, really the only thing the server knows is the user agent string. So we just took a brief moment to look at what the user agent string was. And in fact, if I were to, what is my user agent string? If we do that, search over in both of these, What is my user agent string? Now, obviously we're set up for Google on one side, and Bing on the other side. It looks like Bing does not automatically report it, so let's just go to whatismyua.com. That's not it. what's myua.com? Come on. Here we go. Okay, so on the right side we have the Edge UA, and on the left side we have the Brave UA, which I believe the Brave UA is the same as the Chrome UA. And again, UA is just user agent, the user agent string rather. And so in this case, so we have the presence of Edge right here. If we kind of look at the two side by side, it starts with Mozilla 5.0, Windows NT 10, Win64, X64. So that's the same that we have up here. Apple WebKit 53736, KHTML like Gecko, Chrome, and then when we get to the version number is where we differ here. We have Chrome 51 2704, Chrome 52 2743 on the left, and then we have this Edge token over on the right hand side. Now the first thing that I'm going to try to do, Alessandra, hello, welcome to the chat. First thing I'm going to do is just change my UA string. Now, 9 times out of 10, this is going to be the issue that actually resolves it. So if I inspect this, and right now this is the kind of the reflecting the Edge window. So if I go to emulation, and I'll bump up the UI here so you can kind of see what we're looking at. Inside here, and I'll shrink this down just a bit, because once I change the UA string, I believe the browser automatically changes as well. And so right here we have the user agent string. Here's a whole bunch of options. So I can identify as Opera, I can identify as the Bing bot. So whenever the Bing engine actually comes across your website, it has its own custom UA. I can identify as an Xbox One or a 360, a phone if I need to. In this case, I'm going to identify as Google Chrome. So when I select that, you notice Supply Collins refreshes, and it lets us into the page. Now, it was reported by Atos that Opera does not work. So if I advertise myself to be Opera, you'll notice we get this page. Welcome to Rockwell Collins. Actually, this is slightly different. So let's see if we go to supplycollins.com. We're identifying as Opera. We get a login page. So it seems like Opera is treated a little bit differently. If we say we are IE8 and we go to Supply Collins, IE8 will get the page. IE9 will get the page. IE10 will get the page. And IE11 will get the page. But once we say we are Edge, we no longer get the page. Let's see though, if I go back. So at this point, oh goodness, let's see here. At this point, it looks like it is. It's going to be server-side user agent string sniffing. So what that means is, on the server they're running Apache or something like that, and they are deciding that if the user agent string does not match a certain expression, then they're simply not going to allow you in. Now, in the past, this may be an older website, and they may have said, okay, if you're using IE, we will allow you to enter. If you're using Chrome, we will allow you to enter. If you're using Firefox, let's see if we load Firefox here. And we go to Supply Collins. So they let Firefox in as well. So it seems like any browser that has existed for the last few years is going to be permitted entry into here. But browsers that are fairly new, like for instance Opera actually has a new UA string. Opera around version 12 or so adopted the Blink engine and became a fundamentally different browser. They were using I don't know if it was Presto or what it was, but they were using a different engine, and now they're using the Chrome engine. I think they have a different UA string since then. But it looks like, yeah, that might be one of the big issues here. And so if we identify again as Edge, we get to a different page. Supply Collins. It's not the first page that we saw. We get this login page. So that is fairly interesting. But yeah, it looks like a case of server-side sniffing. So what we would generally do in this case, and anybody out in the chat right now is welcome to do this. There is presumably a contact us option on here. So if I were to come back here and identify as Mozilla Firefox, we'll just see if supply Collins works. Yep, so if you identify yourself as Firefox, guest supplier portal, there is a contact right here, so website suggestions. If you wanted to email them, just let them know that user agent strings, user agent sniffing appears to be blocking some users out of the site. That would be incredibly helpful. If not, then that is definitely something that somebody from our team is going to try and do. So this is the type of stuff that y'all in the community could be super helpful with if you feel like taking that burden upon yourselves. And just let them know that, hey, I'm inside Edge, came across the site, noticed that it only worked if the user agent string was different. Because actually what we can do is we'll actually inspect here. We'll come to the network, and we'll look at exactly what happens. So I want to go ahead and we'll go back to emulation. We'll switch this back to Edge, and we'll watch the network tab. Let's see here. That's Edge, network, and we'll just do a quick refresh. So Control R inside the DevTools. Now behind the scenes, it should be refreshing that page. Nope, we're stuck on the login page. Okay, so let's try this. Let's do supply Collins. Nothing happened. Oh, clear entries on navigate. We don't want that selected. I do always have a refresh from server though, so that we're not getting cache. And here as well, I want to uncheck clear on navigate. I want to keep the actual history of the navigation details in place. So let's go back to the front page of that. Check out the network. What is happening here? This is actually quite interesting. I wonder if that set of DevTools was for a different tab, because the network should be showing me what's happening. No, it's not. This is interesting. Let's jump back into emulation. Everything looks fine. There's some stuff inside here. You notice it's there's navigation's taking place here. We're actually getting moving. So here a navigation event occurred. Here a navigation event occurred. We're parsing the elements on the page. There's an invalid unquoted attribute value. Just some helpful stuff like this that'll just let you know basically if your page is going to run into some potentially disastrous parsing errors. Another navigation event occurred. A navigation event occurred here. We have jQuery 142. That's so we could actually look at, for instance, jQuery 142. If we were to go to jQuery.1.4.2 and do a search for that, we're going to get the release notes for jQuery 142. And let's see. I don't think they have a date on here. Yes. Okay, so jQuery 142, if you look at this, was released 6 years ago. So this might give you an idea as to whenever we're looking at the user agent string sniffing that's happening on this supply Rockwell or this supply Collins URL, just what type of browser support they're actually willing to entertain. And it seems like this whole page was built at least 6 years ago. around that time. Yeah, it could be even more. So that's kind of good information. I would encourage anybody, though, if you are wanting to help out, go the extra mile. Consider shooting them an email through that contact form. If not, then I'll go ahead and contact somebody here on the team, or even myself. I'll just try to email them before the end of the day and see if we can't maybe figure out if there's something specific that they might have identified in Opera or inside Edge. Then maybe there's something we can work on with them there. But chances are likely that if it works inside Chrome, it's going to work inside Edge. Again, whenever we built Edge, we built it up around the web as it exists today. And so we'll definitely take a look at that. Let's see. So a tweet from Brian Campbell. Thank you, Brian, for the kind words. He says, it's amazing working on a Saturday, live troubleshooting. Well done. This is what we do, man. This is what we do. We're Edge, a totally new team here. Although I did see another coworker walk through the hall, so I'm not the only person here. And well, actually, she was an intern too. So our interns, they put in 100% as well. Let's see. So we were just talking earlier about the ad block extensions. So John on Twitter at the Freedom Suit has responded and saying, I'm seeing ads in videos in Microsoft Edge. Browsers treat some kinds of page requests and let me actually let John know that we're talking about this now. Okay, discussing now on the feed. Okay, so just let John know. So John is mentioning AdBlock Plus issues. It looks like, so John is linking to an actual AdBlock page here that says, I'm seeing ads and videos from August 13th. So that's what, today? Yeah, so that's today, just a few hours ago. Browsers treat some kinds of page requests and resources differently. That means there are differences in the kinds of requests and resources we can block from one browser to the next. For instance, okay, so this is actually like a knowledge-based article from AdBlock. This is not a forum question or anything like that. For instance, many videos and games still use Adobe Flash, which is an older technology that's being replaced by HTML5. We can block ads in HTML5 video games anywhere they appear. Because of the way Microsoft Edge handles Flash, however, in Edge we can't block ads in Flash videos and games. Other browsers don't suffer from the same limitation that Edge does. For this reason, our recommended workaround is to watch Flash videos in Chrome, even if you keep Edge as your browser for everything else. I see. It's not an area that I actually know much about, and unfortunately in this case. And so this would be something I could pass along to other team members. Honestly, this is probably, I've said it like half a dozen times. Colleen Williams is my answer to everything. She probably knows exactly what's going on here, and she probably already has like 6 people tied up in an email thread working them to until they get it fixed or until the issue is better understood. So I'm going to defer to Colleen on this. I think she's actually on the thread. Yes, she is. So she very likely will know exactly what the problem is. Unfortunately, I don't in this case. But it sounds like there's an inability to strip Flash ads. I have not personally ran into this myself because I just have Flash turned off. You can turn Flash off entirely. Understandably, there are some websites that still need it. And so if you're visiting those sites, you will obviously have to enable it. But if you don't want to use it, it's quite easy. Let's see here. You just wonder if I can open up my not my dev tools, a new instance of Edge here, and just do a quick preview of, for anyone who hasn't seen where you can turn Flash off, might be fairly helpful. And so there we go. So yeah, I'll share my screen real quick. Bottom right. So up in the top right hand corner, your settings, you go down to the action dots down to settings, and then in view advanced settings, right here is use Adobe Flash Player. Yeah, you can have this, turn it on if you need to use Flash. If you don't, turn it off. More often than not, websites that use Flash, they engage in feature detection, which means they'll actually check to see if the browser supports a particular feature before they default back to Flash. And so on those sites, if you have Flash turned off, they will more than likely do a quick feature detection on HTML5 video, or they'll just try to create a Flash object itself. And if it fails, then they know they need to use HTML5 video or audio or something like that. And so you oftentimes won't run into issues on the web that aren't kind of resolved today on major websites. But if there are some minor websites you still visit that require it, unfortunately, it's kind of a pain that we have to deal with right now. I wish I had a better answer. I hope that helps, John. Let's see. So we have a response here. So Athos is sharing a screenshot. Oh, nice. Athos is on Ubuntu using Opera and shared a screenshot of the supply columns, which shows the same thing, the task unknown failed on startup. I actually think that page, I noticed I wasn't hitting that page consistently. Whenever we actually switched the user agent string and then switched back, it was instead taking us to a login page. And so I don't know, that page might have been just kind of coincidental. I'm not quite sure. But yes, that's a beautiful, beautiful kind of desktop there too. Looks real nice. I mean, I'm more fond of Windows 10, obviously, but yeah, Ubuntu's pretty. Let's see here. What's really pretty is Bash on Ubuntu on Windows 10. That'll get you. Let's see. Let's go up to the. Oh, John is watching. Hello, John, from the Freedom Suit. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So Steve Pell Steve is mentioning issues with Logitech still. Steve, I'm going to go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, if you're watching right now, please consider submitting a bug just by bugs@microsoftedge.com, and just put in the repro steps to the best of your ability to actually show how we go about reproducing the issue, and we'll definitely try and get someone to look into it. Again, I kind of pressed it. I got into the account sign up page, but wasn't able to reproduce the blank pages, the issue that you were reporting. I think Ryan was running into an issue where this contact us page was inaccessible, but after clearing cache and stuff, it seemed to have resolved itself. Awesome. So I am back up to the top of my timeline, which means I no longer have URLs to investigate. I no longer have issues to look into. So if anybody else has an issue out there, please do feel free to pop it into the chat right there. And I'm more than happy to go through and check it out. Let's look real quick. I'm just going to check my DMs to see if they're nice and clear. We actually, okay, I do have a DM here. Let's see. It's from a private account, so I'm not going to say who it's from. But let me just see the page they're showing. Let me load it up over here. So this is loading this page up, and I'm not immediately seeing any issues here. Okay, actually there's a comment on this page. This is from the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Tennessee. And they say Microsoft Edge, the default browser in Windows 10, is not fully compatible with CM/ECF. In particular, Microsoft Edge is unable to display most PDFs from CM/ECF and instead displays the error message, couldn't open PDF. So it appears to be a limitation with PDFs, CM/ECF. What I would actually, in this case, I think I'm going to ask the individual who reported this to share with me an example of a PDF, something that we can actually take back, because obviously some PDFs work in Edge. I think the team that works on the PDF reader that is built in situ, built into Edge, is probably aware of some limitations. But as far as specifics go for CMECF, would definitely need to get a couple of examples. So I'm going to ask this individual for a couple of examples. Or 2 examples. Feel free to email them to me at Okay, so that individual has been covered. All right, I think that pretty much takes care of all of the URLs and problem sites that have been reported so far today. We are now going on 3.5 hours of broadcasting, so 3.5 hours of debugging. Yeah, if there's not something specific that anyone has that they want to check into, I may dip back into... I may either just stop and go home and do something there, or I may dip back into the Battlefield issue. And I don't know, Ryan, I apologize if you already answered this, but your reduction that you made earlier for, let's see, where I thought I had that. Yeah, here we go. That does the import. That you have a document fragment. You try to import the fragment, a shallow importing, and that passes a shallow importing fails. Yeah, I don't know if you've reported this issue yet inside bugs, but if you have not, then we should definitely do that. Let's see. So I'm going to go back to bugs.microsoftedge.com. So it does look like there is a battlefield.com does not work under Edge post inside here. Interesting. So the author of this has been Ryan C. 6 minutes. Oh, okay. So it looks like Ryan did, okay, updated the bug report with more information. Nice. So it appears to be related to not supported error being thrown when document import node is called with its deep argument set to false. By using Fiddler to modify web components min.js used by the Battlefield page, page can be made to finish loading specifically when the called document import node is modified to pass a true argument for deep import and the return node's children are removed to preserve non-deep behavior. The exception is avoided and the page displays normally. The above.js Fiddle and Battlefield still fail for me in Edge 39.1401.1000. Fantastic. This is awesome. Thank you very much, Ryan. I think I've already marked this as me too. So anybody else? This looks like it's a separate issue. So I thought we had battlefield.com in here twice, or maybe a couple different times. Battlefield.com. No, it looks like it's just that one. Interesting. Let me go and check in our internal bug tracker if there were any non-public reports from Battlefield that might have been submitted a while back before people knew about the public bug tracker. Yeah. Yeah, I actually need to email somebody real quick relating to this issue. So, because we have a individual who's working with us on this issue, trying to test multiple builds of Windows, because we appear to have this issue right now where Battlefield works in some builds of Edge, not in others, begins to work in some, not in others. Excellent. So Zenbergen Online had an issue, but it appears to be with the video player. Does the video player behave the same way in Edge, in Chrome, in Firefox, and all other browsers? Let's see. Nope, didn't have. Okay, so the player is misbehaving in Edge, but not Chrome or Firefox, if I understand that correctly. When loaded the page, it keeps moving up and down. Real strange. It has an embedded video player of some kind. The player is also there in Chrome and Firefox. I see. So I'll go ahead and pull it up real quick. Let's see if we can reproduce the issue. So let me close down all these other pages. And let's see here. So the URL we're going to is, where was it? nos.nl/Rio 2016. Okay, so this is, I see. This is the second site I've seen today that actually has that same cookies accept. See, the other one was inu.nl. I wonder if that's like some national law thing in the Netherlands that you have to have that. So I went to the page inside Edge with Flash disabled, which I don't know if this is using Flash, and where the video presumably is supposed to go, I just see a gray box. I actually see the same thing in Chrome as well, where it's just a gray box. So it would be helpful if you're able to share a screenshot of Chrome and Edge side by side. That would be very helpful to see kind of what is expected and what is actually being seen. Yeah, I assume that cookie acceptance is a European thing, but it's the same exact, it's identical, the UI that appears at the top of the site. Tech Constantin, thank you very much. This is fun. It's a lot of fun. So I appreciate the people chiming in and helping kind of debug things and report broken URLs. So there we go. Yeah, thank all of these people right there for their patience and assistance. Yeah, so Helmer, I'm looking at, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, but Helmer, I'm looking at the page right now. There's nothing scrolling for me. In fact, let me pull it up on my desktop here so you can tell me if I'm seeing what I should expect to be seeing. So we'll go here. And we'll close this, and we will go to it's nos.nl/Rio2016. Oops, that's wrong. nos.nl. So this is, let's see, this looks right. I see. So you're no longer reproducing the issue. Okay. Yeah. Oh man, you gotta love the internet. Sometimes it's doing something crazy, and then the next moment it's not reproducing. So yeah, I mean, it seems like everything is working for the two of us. It happened a few minutes ago when the player didn't automatically pop up. Yeah. So if you run into the issue again, just let me know, and try to identify maybe some of the conditions. Do you have Flash enabled? Is it using Flash? Is it a JavaScript or HTML pop up? One of the quick ways that we can identify that, if you've already pressed F12 on your keyboard, or if you go up here and you press F12 Developer Tools, then you will have this right-click option of Inspect Element and View Source added. When you do that, you'll be able to come inside here, and you'll notice in here, this is actually using a video tag as opposed to an object tag or something like that, which will be used for a Flash or an embed tag or something. And so if you see video, then you know it's using HTML5. If you see something else, it's very likely using a Flash component or something like that. So having that information really quickly at your disposal is going to help us more accurately reproduce these issues and work towards resolution. Look at this. Colleen is at it. She is active on Twitter right now, solving the world's problems. So if you're following Colleen, you can actually see that she's got some responses going out right now, and she's about to fix everything. So yeah, so always right click, inspect, and see what you get there. If you get a video element, then that's great. You're using HTML5. If I were to come inside here, settings, view advanced settings. Flash player is actually turned on. Let me turn that off real quick and see if we get the same setup here. Nope. So yeah, I mean, nothing has changed. Excellent. So that's good. Jump back into the top center theme. Yeah, so if you run into the issue again, please kind of keep track of the details and let me know what's going on. All right, let's see what else we've got. Looks like there are no other URLs being reported. Helmer, thank you. I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully we can find and fix the internet together. So let's see here. I'm curious how many people watching right now. How many people watching right now are web developers or are interested in web development, actually learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Let's see. Peter Sorensen says, after a short time on Outlook.com, I can't highlight text in email, but it will keep working in Mail app. Let's see. So Tech Constantin says, web developer. Helmer says, IT pro. So Peter, I'm curious if you wouldn't mind, the next chance you get, close down all instances of Edge. Maybe even restart your computer just to make sure that your starting position is well understood. It is very simple to open up Edge directly to a certain website. And I shared that a couple times here on this broadcast, but let me show you again real quick. All you do is you press Windows key R. That's going to bring up the run dialog. And then you'll notice what I have at the very beginning here. I have a URL inside here, http forumua.org/forum. But before that, I have the Microsoft Edge protocol. So it's Microsoft-Edge : and so then right on the right side of that colon, you would put in the URL for Outlook.com. If you do that, so say for instance, I'll just do, let's do jsbin.com, and you push enter, it'll open it up directly to that page. So you don't have to worry about, maybe there was something to do with another page that I was opening up that might have contributed to the sluggishness. You know that you're not having long-running scripts or something like that in a background tab. This will open you up straight to that page and make sure that you have a good, clean, and clear kind of sanitary environment to test the performance issues that you're running into on Outlook.com. When you do that, just leave it alone. If your repro is don't touch it for 10 or 15 minutes, and then come back and try and select some text, then just try that. If your repro requires you to start typing an email or something, do that. But ultimately, try to keep a very clear, mental image or even a physical note, a list of what your steps are that you're taking so that you can convey those back to us. If you get into the state where it's just really slow and sluggish to respond, remember, if you were here on, I think, the first broadcast today, which is about like 6 hours ago or something, we actually went through and we talked about the Feedback Hub monitoring feature. So I am on right now just a regular anniversary update build of Windows 10. And I'm on, what is this? This is 14.393. So I'm not on a special fancy insider build or anything like that. I'm just on a normal build of Windows 10. And if I hit Windows key and then type in feedback, I will get the Feedback Hub. Inside the Feedback Hub, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and expand this out just a little bit, and we'll look up Outlook.com. Now, this is an issue I've hit a couple times where I'm not able to actually type into the Feedback Hub field. Yeah, so if you see this, if you've seen the Outlook issues inside the Feedback Hub, what I want you to do is consider monitoring it. There we go, Outlook.com. So let's see, here's a case where, I'll just jump on one of these. Whenever you expand, add feedback details, this one doesn't have it because this is actually apps and games mail. What we want to find is the category of, let's see, a filter problems, I think it is. So let's look at extremely sluggish, navigating folders, almost unusable in this build. This is from 5 months ago, but if you look inside here, awesome. Well, thank you, Peter. It's a pleasure doing these live streams. If you look inside here, what you'll actually want to do whenever you get into that state where Edge is kind of just slow to respond and it's not, letting you select text and stuff like that, jump over inside the Feedback Hub, come over here and say, performance, for instance, would be the feature that you might want to add feedback details on. And then just click Begin Monitoring. And then now you're going to notice that now I'm monitoring. So I could then open up my browser or go to Outlook.com if I'm already there. That's fantastic. Capture about a few seconds of me trying to select text and then stop monitoring. And then you're going to notice it adds the system monitoring file. And then you'll want to submit and upvote if you found an item that is that kind of matches what your experience is. If you haven't found an item that matches your experience, then just open up a brand new one, make it a problem, specify which build you're working with, and then begin monitoring and submit that system monitoring file. And as I mentioned earlier, what this is doing is it's actually just keeping a record of which parts of the browser are being called. And when I say which parts, I'm talking about the internal programming of the browser, so the actual functions that we call whenever we create a paragraph element, or whenever the cursor moves, or whenever a selection is made. There are functions that control the blue outline of the box across the selection of text. And so we keep track of which functions are called and how long they take to complete. And then this information, then when it comes to us, it allows us to actually see where those bottlenecks are, which parts of the experience are slow. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. So it looks like John and Colleen are talking right now. The Freedom Suite and Carl Williams, and just kind of working through the Flash issue that he's facing. Wonderful. Well, it is 4:55. We are now on. We're coming up on hour number 4 of the second broadcast of the day. So that is literally half a work day. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everybody who's been hanging out with me today. I had asked a question about web development. So I asked a question about web development, and a few people kind of responded back saying that, yeah, they're interested in web development, or it's something they're studying right now. This stream is about more than just bugs and Edge. This stream honestly is an opportunity for me to kind of share any type of knowledge or any type of assistance I can with the community at large. And so if everyone out there is kind of curious how we use certain features in the web platform, if you're new to HTML or CSS or JavaScript and there's a particular concept that is a little confusing, by all means, please provide questions in the comments over here, and we'll talk about those just the same way as we do with debugging issues on the web. So Tech Constant says, maybe something off topic. In which way are you involved with the development of Edge? If you want to tell us, just curious. I am on the web platform team, predominantly in the ecosystem. Now, what that means is my team focuses a lot on you, the developers out in the community, the insiders who use Internet Explorer and Microsoft Edge and these types of things. Less Internet Explorer today, more Microsoft Edge. We are actually curious, about your experiences and what we can do to kind of facilitate stronger communications across that area. Because if you've noticed, sometimes it's tough to go through more traditional support channels. Ours is an industry that requires very specialized knowledge and experience. And so when you have issues in Edge, when you have issues with the web platform, you really need to talk to somebody who has a fairly intimate working knowledge of those systems. And so that is kind of where our team gets to come in play. We get to help people use Edge as a development platform out in the wild and build a better web for everybody. So, excellent. Well, I think that's enough for today. I want to thank you all again for hanging out with me for literally hours and hours and hours. It's a Saturday, but here we are, just a bunch of nerds playing on the internet. And I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. This is, when I was younger, I used to spend my Saturdays jumping on the trampoline. But today I don't have a trampoline, so I'll just spend my time jumping on the web. And yeah. So, Michael, it was nice to see you again. Tech Consonant, it was nice to see you. I think this might be the first day I saw you in here. Peter Sorensen, thank you for the chat. Everybody. I mean, this is actually a really kind of productive day. Helmer, thank you for tuning in. Ryan, you've been super helpful today. I appreciate you filing additional details on the Battlefield bug. There's quite a few people that ask about Battlefield on Twitter, so I'm glad that we actually have we're making some progress there for them. Yep, and if you guys or gals, anybody out there, happen to run into any issues along the week, please take a note of the URL. Please take note of the issue. If you want to talk about something web development related, please write down that idea. And I should be here, I believe, next Saturday as well. I may be taking some time off. It's been a couple of years since I've taken any vacation, so I might take some vacation. And we'll see. I don't know. Who knows? Either way, thank you all for hanging out with me today. It's been a blast. I will talk to you all next time. Take care. Bye.